time for speeches is done. The first great test is here. My order to you all is simple, yet heed it well, and exert yourselves to see it done. They are coming. Kill them all.
No, emotional intelligence is horseshit. Thank you. I'll settle that right now. I love that intro. That was like one of my favorite ones. I gotta get that guy's name. The guy who's the reader for that. I would love to have him in here just to fucking interview the guy. Welcome. Well, the Raiders are playing. Playing the Broncos here in Las Vegas, making traffic a friggin' nightmare. But we're here. We're doing it live from Las Vegas. This is the Rational Mail. You guys are going to love it today. Love it. This was a social experiment. Today's show, our topic, social experiment. But first, before we get to that, let's go with this. Tell me men aren't necessary anymore.
It's okay that men cheat on their wives with you.
100%.
Why?
Because women are lazy. If you ask the average person, when's the last time your wife went down on him? They're going to say it's ages ago. The other thing with women, they want women's rights and they want things equal. But then they're the ones that want the bills to be paid for. They expect the guy to go and earn more money than them. Then they also want the guy to come home, clean the house, look after the kids. So it's like you can't expect someone to do all of that. And then you're not even going to do the bare minimum, which is go down on them. So when they're not doing that, I offer it free.
But do you think that's okay?
Well, yeah, it's a service they deserve.
So do you think that you're saving marriages by sucking cocks?
Yeah, because then they're not having like an affair, like an emotional connection with someone.
Well, it is an affair though, isn't it really? Would you cheat in a relationship?
Possibly. These husbands are telling their wife, like, I'm not happy with how things are in the bedroom. Guarantee you those wives are just going to kick off. Like, they don't ever take any criticism well.
Well, I'm a whore. So, about to be a newly single mom. And I am in the middle of a divorce. My husband is being incredible though. Like, really and truly, like, we're working together. Everything's great. We're splitting everything down the middle. Like, you know,
You're not.
Everything is good. It is a very civil divorce with our daughter in mind. And I really appreciate that. However, you know, I'm going to be a mom, single income right now. And he will be helping with her. He will be supporting her. You know, so essentially, like, I'm really thankful for that, and that I will not have to worry so much about supporting her. However, I will be on a very limited income, with buying a new house and, you know, paying a mortgage and all that stuff. So, I've never done this before. I've never been on my own before. So, if you have any tips, saving money and making money, anything like that, like, I would really appreciate it. Like, you know, coffee at home, you know, I take caffeine pills, I do my own hair, nails, everything. Like, I do all that. So yeah, if you just have any tips, like, I would really appreciate it, because, like, I'm a little scared right now.
Yeah, you should be. I don't want to be too flippant about that, but I think a day after this video was uploaded, her husband ended up killing her, killing himself, and killing their kid. So
that as mothers or potential mothers, that you have a responsibility to, I guess, behave in such a way where your child would be proud of you. Would you?
All right, so let me explain this. That's Lauren Chen, and this is Jasmine Jafar, former, well, actually never attorney, and let's see, OnlyFans star, and also a political operative for Progressive Victory, as we know now. Of course, now the NDAs are probably up, so she can actually admit it outright now. But we also have Lauren Chen on this show. And Lauren Chen, also a political operative, taking $10 million from Russian money for influence over the election, which, of course, she's now under federal indictment for. So you have two political operatives here on whatever podcast.
Be upset if you have a daughter and she does OnlyFans. Like, how are your feelings with fans kind of related to
so
your
those
future
are two
plans?
questions. I think just like there's an appropriate way to talk to children about sex education, I think there's also an age appropriate way to talk to children about sex work. Now, would I care if my daughter did this? My only goal for my children is to be happy and healthy and kind people, so I have no intention
Everything that comes out of her mouth is pre-approved by a progressive victory.
of bringing children into the world so I can be proud of them, or that they can align with me and do everything I want. People who have children to make them an extension of themselves shouldn't have children. So again, if this is what my daughter does and she's happy and she's healthy and she's safe, go for it. If she wants to be a waitress, go for it. If she wants to be a neurosurgeon, go for it.
Can you understand why a parent could love their child and not want them to just be an extension of themselves, but still...
Lauren Chen, political operative for, well, actually, technically, she founded Tenet Media on the back of a $10 million, let's just say a grant from the Russian government.
not want them to do fans?
I can totally see it because like my mom also thought tampons are only for virgins. Like she grew up, she was married a virgin. She's only ever been with my dad. So it's really hard for them to break away from these values. So they think that what I'm doing is unhealthy, but that may not necessarily be true. So again, my goal for my child is not them doing what I think is healthy or what I think is great or what aligns with my values. It's just that they're overall happy, healthy kids.
Kind of hits differently now that we know why they're there and what they're saying, and they're basically sock puppets for their respective owners.
Remember that same woman that's making you wait like 3 to 4 months while you court her to sleep with you? Just know that that same woman has someone in mind that she would sleep with on the first date. This is the same woman that will preach that her standards are so high, but this same woman will give up her standards for the right guy. And when you think about it, it all makes sense, because that's why there's so many single mothers and so many deadbeats out there, because women will be easy for the men that they like. They'll never tell you this because they don't want to come off as skanky or 304s or women that give it up too easily. So next time you're putting in all this effort and you're trying to respect her boundaries that she magically pulled out of her ass, just know, like I said, that there is a man out there that she would gladly give it up to immediately or on the first date if she felt like he was the right guy, which means you're not the right guy. You don't need to do all that. Women are easy for the men that they like. Okay, bye.
Oh my goodness, excuse me? You look absolutely phenomenal. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your guys' conversation. I'm going to Tiffany and Cohen picking up our wedding ring. And we're going to go to Mykonos and get married. Yeah. That's okay with you?
I'll expect it.
Well, why don't I just start off with your number? That's okay with you? Is that okay?
Sure.
What's your name? Lizzie.
Yeah.
Where are you from?
Colorado. I leave tomorrow.
Do you go to, what's that school called? Do you go there?
Which one?
Colorado, CSU? Colorado State University?
No, definitely not.
Oh.
Men are more romantic than women. When we get married, we marry like one girl because we're resistant the whole way until we meet one girl and we think I'd be an idiot if I didn't marry this girl. She's so great. But it seems like girls get to a place they just kind of pick the best option or something. I know girls that get married. They're like, oh, he's got a good job. I mean, they spend their whole life looking for Prince Charming, and then they marry the guy that's got a good job and he's gonna stick around.
You lose! Good day, sir!
Higher body counts are more likely to cheat. Men with higher body counts are more likely to get divorced. Men with higher body counts are less likely to be satisfied in their marriages. Though that's the suite of results that we're seeing in these studies. It's also showing those things for women, but conveniently, these kind of red pill freaks are like, oh, you know, it's women, women, women.
Oh, there we go. Mac and Murphy single-handedly destroys the Manosphere and the red pill. It's all over. Go back home. He's right. You're wrong. Bye-bye.
Yes, because I feel like you don't often see that perspective coming from women, of women with high body counts saying, I want a man with a lower body count. So I'm curious why you think that is.
Oh, it's actually really simple. So the idea of paternity is something which men only recently could be assured of. Mm-hmm. So the idea that the kid that you have is mine, we can now know, but that's a very new technology. Before that, how could you know if the child was yours?
So then would that only apply to situations where you're trying to date someone to marry? It wouldn't apply to a normal hookup? You might
no, that's all new tech. So here's the idea. If you were sleeping with a woman before she's your wife, or even she's not your wife, how could you assure paternity absent a paternity test?
By having, I guess, her only sleep with one person.
Only
but that
one
implies
person.
that you're having a child
hang
with
on,
every
so hang
woman
on,
you
so
sleep
hang on.
with.
So this would imply that there could be a revulsion mechanism.
Okay.
A revulsion mechanism around the idea that if a woman is promiscuous, that you could not be assured paternity. And so there's an internal revulsion which happens.
Okay, so you're saying it's kind of passed down. You think it's generational?
Well, I think it's biological. It's a biological way to create insurance for paternity.
Interesting.
For fuck's sake. You can do it. Just say it's an evolved trait. Oh, all right. Last but not least, this is actually, I was inspired by this one.
Now, you see the beautiful scale? We are in E. The scale of E. It's interesting to see how scales are important in Elgar and in, I should say, in all good music. Shakespeare has said, music is a food of love. Had he been a musician, he would have added, scales and scales are the food of music. You have the root of the soul of a people, of a country, in the scale already. If you are Greek, you would do that. The old Greek, the noble Greek of the Antiquité. If you are Beethoven, you do. If you are Elgar, and if you are Indian, isn't it already musical? Music there already. So, speaking of philosopher, now since we are at philosophy and scales, it's interesting to think about philosophers and composers. In their writings, philosophers teach us how to think. But in their music, composers teach us how to love. It is a noble.
Game recognizes game. I like that guy. That's a new find for me. It's like philosophy and music. I usually like throw out a Nuno Betancourt video because I really like Nuno quite a bit. But I think that's interesting. I got into a conversation. Actually, I've had this conversation with Fresh, but I just had it again recently. And I think it's funny is like when people think that like white people don't have culture. I'm like, oh, come to a Lamb of God concert. I'll show you white people culture right there. Yeah, I thought that was pretty good, and it's interesting too because all it is an E minor scale, and it's just depends on how it's delivered. That's really all it is. So. Thought it was kind of interesting. What's the dots on my arms? Sorry, it's actually they're my liver spots. Well, he's getting old. No, no, it's God. There are certain tanning techniques, like spray tan techniques, that you should or should. Well, white people should or should not use. I'll tell you what. You want to know a funny thing? The last time I was on Fresh and Fit, I think it was back in May, and I was just starting to get into like doing tanning on like spray tanning on a regular basis because I'm like, okay, I'm on TRT right now, I'm looking better. But a tan will take like 10 pounds off you. And not that I need 10 pounds taken off, but I'm like, it looks good, right? You have a good, healthy sheen. And by the way, there's so many people are going like, there's probably people like are going to chew their faces off. Rollo's embarrassed to be white. I'm like, no, man. It's like, I want to help. Can I not like want a healthy, like kind of, tan or glow or whatever. Or like if you take the peptide, what's the peptide? It's melanotan 2. Melanotan 2, man. But I was on Fresh and Fit, and I told Fresh, I said, you will never, as a black man, you will never know the joy of going to the spray tan and coming out and going, hot damn, look. That was pretty funny. Yeah. No, and then it's actually Splat. It's certain like machine, like what is it? VersaSpa? Don't use the VersaSpa. There's another one that's better than that. This is what I get for experimenting. Sorry. Yeah. Why does he have spots? It's scabies. Thank you. Jiggers. Yeah, I know. I'm happy to, I've decided that I'm going to lean into shit this year. Like if people say, oh, Rolla, you're old. Yeah. Okay. Got me. 56. Thanks. We were on what Nanodro? What was this? Wait. It's Sposis after Nanodrool. I know what. That's isn't that Deca? Nandrolone. Nandrolone is Deca, I believe.
So.
Yeah, I don't touch. Yeah, Tren is Tren is what's doing it. You're right. Yes, it pops it just throws it right out there. No, I tell you that sometimes, like if you use certain tanning techniques or something, it looks like liver spots, and I'm like, what the fuck? Yeah. It's tan. It's overspray. There you go. Yeah. You're correct. Oh man. Hey, thank you very much for wait. Holy shit. I didn't even see that go by. All right. Thank you. Matt Walsh loves today's podcast topic. Yeah, well, he better today. We're going to talk about, I don't know if we talk about Matt Walsh in particular, but we're going to definitely, I did a mea culpa. I did a social experiment over really last week. I'll show it to you here real quick. Actually, I'll just do it right now. Because we're going to start talking about this here in just a moment. But, oops, that's not it. Wait a minute. It's a Chrome tab. There we go. So here we are. This was what is that up to right now? 263,000, almost 264,000 views. And I put it up on the 3rd. So it's only 2 days old. This was interesting to me because I saw a few people retweeting Richard Hania. If you know who he is, I think a lot of who follows this dude. There's a bunch of dudes that follow this guy, and I don't know. A lot of people who I follow this dude, and I can't quite explain why. Anyways, I guess the guy's he wrote this book called The Origins of Woke. So I guess I don't know. You really want to see a picture of the dude? So anyways, he decided that he was going to toss this little zinger out here. For whatever reason, we have started the 2025 out with a bang here. Everybody wants a piece of the red pill all of a sudden. I wonder why. Why could that be, people? It seems like everybody wants to jump and pile on the red pill again because, well, the election is over. So there's nothing left to go after. And as I said, this is what people are going to start doing. They're just going to start pivoting back towards the red pill. And sure shit, here we are. All right. So Richard Hania, if you know who he is, please say so in the chat. I don't follow this dude. In fact, if you see who he is or what he looks like, you'll understand why I don't follow this dude. So this was from some chick on TikTok. I guess it went viral or whatever. Modern dating is exhausting. I never thought I'd be 34 and single as a Pringle. Really. But I also never thought I'd be meeting so many men at this age who lack effort, intention, and emotional intelligence. If you want a bait topic for TikTok, this is it. And I'm pretty sure probably at least for the next 3 months until the next catastrophe happens. This is going to be sort of the topic du jour for TradCons. Primarily because, as I was showing you guys before, the video of Charlie Kirk at Turning Point TP USA, Turning Point USA, and basically saying, hey, men, it's your Christian duty to do everything you possibly can to make your wife comfortable, make her a woman of leisure, and you don't get to play any video games and you don't get to do jack shit until you do so. All right. And so all I threw out there was, and by the way, I've used this line several times. This is a 1-sentence tweet or a 2-sentence tweet or where'd it go? 1-sentence tweet. Men do not owe women a better life. And I have thrown this out there. And I guess I timed it right because now we're at 140 comments. It's been retweeted 786 times. It's been liked almost 6,500 times. And people have bookmarked this. Wow, 500. I don't ever look at the bookmarks, but people have been bookmarking it as well. The engagement, though, is 264,000 views, which I thought was interesting. And of course, it sparks all I got. If you ever want to know what the secret of doing a viral tweet is, it has to be very simple. It has to be something pithy. It has to be something that's like easily digestible and understandable. And so all you got to do, if you can limit it to like one or possibly, at the most 2 sentences, and you can hit a pain point in that sentence, which of course is, men do not owe women a better life. Now, what do you think? You guys should know this already. What do you think is going to be the response? to this? What do you think? What do you think people are going to How are they going to respond to this? You've got, first of all, we're really kind of three basic responses. You've got the men ain't shit responses, which are going to be coming from traditional conservative females. And then you're also going to have people who are going to say, well, what about emotional intelligence? But primarily what I was looking for in this sort of thought experiment was how people would respond to this in sort of trying to find a yin to the yang, meaning like, well, men do it too. And that was primarily what every single one with the exception of the guys who were sort of like on Team Rollo, that was pretty much the response that I expected. So I'll go through that here in just a second. Hey Rollo, the Cybertruck guy. There we go. Cybertruck guy found out his kid wasn't his, and the Bourbon Street terrorist was going through his third or fourth divorce. I believe they were zeroed out and couldn't deal with it. Well, it's funny you should say that because where is it? James Carville had something to say about the Bourbon Street guy. Here he is.
Yeah. I mean, I've been in the military. The one thing you do is you learn how to deal with explosives, and if you wanted to. Fortunately for us, 99.99% of them don't do that. But at the end of the day, it's just my theory, and I'm going to be right 80% of the time. These people have some kind of sexual problem. I think that most of them are incels. I'll be wrong 20%. I'll say that, but I'm not going to be wrong much more than that. When you dig into it.
What do you think happens?
There we go. They're all incels. Interesting to hear that word come out of James Carville. Old ass James Carville's. Rollo's old. I ain't old as that. I am not that old. I'm glad you think so, because that's exactly what everybody else thinks, right? Of course, now we're going to throw incel on there, and I thought it was like Islamic terrorism in Bourbon Street.
Because I think it was. I don't know if it's just for the Bourbon Street, but also the Tesla explosion.
Yeah.
They saw that he started.
New Year's Eve, stay indoors. Shit's gonna happen.
He started reading that. These Islamic teachings or something like that, but they threw it out towards like the end. I guess in the last year of their lives.
They said they found like a ISIS flag or something in his truck or something. Who knows? But I think it's funny because it's like now incels are going to just the word incel is going to get thrown into the mix like right off the bat, right? It could be entirely something different. Like that guy. And by the way, if that in any way like hurt your feelings or made you feel bad, the chick that was talking about her divorce, she's no longer with us, and neither is her husband, and neither her ex-husband, and neither is their daughter, which kind of sucks because. And again, I put that video in there because I've gone through something similar with my brother-in-law. And as you guys, I don't need to rehash that whole situation, but I wanted to kind of emphasize the fact that when you have a guy who's going through a tough divorce, or maybe the guy is very blue pill and very like overly invested in sort of his emotions and his feels in his marriage, and maybe even rightfully so, right? The guy's not going to give any outward signals. Serious. Like when my brother-in-law was nobody knew he was suicidal, obviously, but for all intents and purposes, he seemed like a normal guy. Nobody questioned it. Nobody. He didn't give any outward signs. Nothing. Just one day it was just a pragmatic. That's why I keep saying it's not an emotional choice for these guys. It's a pragmatic choice. Now, emotions might become involved in the actual act of it, but the decision for most men when it comes to, unaliving themselves and self-deletion, it's the basis of it is actually a pragmatic decision. It's not an emotional decision. How do we know? Well, because we're looking at another example of it's right here is guys who just said don't give any outward signs, right? Oh, they should go and look for help, or we should go and reach out to them or whatever. And what will happen is they'll just be like, no, everything's cool. Don't worry about it. And then, 2 days later, he's hanging from a tree, or offs his wife and his kid, right? So I think when we're talking about the differences between men and women when it comes to sort of that of divorces and how men take it and how women take it. As I've said before, and one of the sort of the charter issues that I have for my Reignite program is I actually use this in the introduction, is that men are 8 times more likely to off themselves as a result of a divorce, especially if that guy is sort of one of the 80 percenters who found, or thought he found the one. Right, the guy gets to the point where he's about 29, 30, 31 years old, and he's still kind of blue pill. He's not red pill aware. Doesn't know that that's when women are going to start settling, and he looks like a good, stable, loyal choice. And maybe, say, oh, all those guys before me didn't matter. I'm with you. I'm ride or die for you. When she's really not. The kid comes out, and then she's got what she wanted, and she wants a divorce because he's not exciting. He wasn't as fun as those guys. You can see in the video that she's talking about there is, I don't know what to do with myself. I got to go back and I got to learn how to live by myself. And, and essentially what she's doing, she's kind of looking forward to getting back into the sexual marketplace again. But, maybe she's concerned about, she seemed very almost upbeat about, being divorced. And you guys don't know this already. If you don't follow me on Instagram, last night I was with Owen Cook and Mike Sartain and Tristan Darshan, and we were with they asked me to come and be a part of their I guess seminar or hot seat, or I don't even know what they call it anymore. Mike calls them immersive, so I'm just going to go with that. But it's about 20 guys there, and one of the topics that came up was sort of divorce and where are you for marriage? Are you against marriage? And, Owen kind of has the same take on marriage that I do. It's like, I'm not against marriage. I'm just against the way that we do it now. But he brought up this one point that I hadn't really thought of in quite some time. And I was sort of like hit me in a different way. But when women get divorced, they have parties. They have divorce parties. Here's your divorce cake. Here, it has a big dick, it has a big dildo coming out of it or some shit like that. And it's a celebration of that woman re-entering the sexual marketplace. We don't do that for guys. We don't say, oh, your boys might get together and go have a drink or something like that. But we don't do that level of self-aggrandizement or that level of it's almost a ritual that women have to have, especially when that party is being thrown by her divorced friends. And now she's divorced, and now she's in the divorced woman's club, right? And so we've got to have a cake. We've got to have a ritual. We've got hey, we're going to go down and get what's the shot? Blowjobs? So the shots things, yeah. And it's a divorce party, right? It's very similar to a bachelorette party. It's almost the reverse of a bachelorette party. And I didn't really think about that. And Owen brought that up, and I was like, damn, he's right. There's a celebratory kind of feeling or atmosphere or sort of subroutine going on when that woman, it's not a failure. We're not I think it's funny because even it was Owen Cook of all people who was turning me on to this idea, is that we're basically celebrating that woman coming back into the sexual marketplace, but we're not looking at the impact that it's going to potentially have on the ex-husband, the children, the families, parents, grandparents, friends. It could have an impact on the guy's work, on her work, where they're going to go and where the kids are going to go to school and how they're going to arrange things and everything. It's chaotic. And to think that it should be something that's celebrated because the woman is basically coming back into the sexual marketplace it's insanity. And I'm like, yeah, you're kind of right. About that. So anyways, I don't want to be, we're already on a downer note here today. I don't want to get too far into that. Professor Rollo, what do you think about the book Attached? I haven't seen the Attached. They talk about secure attachment style being gold standard as opposed to anxious and avoidant in this. Is there red pill truth in this? No, there's no truth in that whatsoever. In the attachment style thing. And the reason I'm saying that is I will, in fact, you know what? I'll just show you really quickly here. It's funny because I have this bookmark. I bookmarked this too. This is Steve Stewart Williams. And the reason I did was because who was the guy? I think it's Prometheus or one of these dudes who frequently goes on Chris Williamson's show. He's a quote unquote relationship expert, right? And his whole shtick is the attachment style theory, which, by the way, is came out of sort of the new age kind of woo-woo humanist psychology trends, let's just say, of the 70s and the 80s. So the fact that people are still hanging on to attachment styles is kind of ridiculous. I'll put this up here. Oh, that's not what I do. Hang on. There we go. Steve Stewart Williams. And just I have to, since you brought this up, I kind of wanted to throw this on the screen here. Where do we go? There we go. Steve Stewart Williams. There we go. So here you have it. New research in behavioral genetics poses a significant challenge to one of the most famous theories in psychology: the idea that parental treatment shapes children's attachment styles. New research in genetics and the reason why I'm showing this here is because according to the study, attachment styles are significantly heritable. And to the extent that they're shaped by the environment, the shared family environment contributes almost nothing. And so this is kind of a kill shot to like the last vestiges of the attachment theory. It's not to say that what is it, psychology or your personality and stuff. That's not to say that it's entirely genetic, but it's downstream, put it that way. So when we talk about the 4 laws of behavioral genetics, which I'm more than happy to get into in this show, I've done it before, but the 4 laws of behavioral genetics has been sort of the death blow to a lot of old school Jungian psychology, Freudian psychology, Maslow psychology, because when we look at personality traits, we can see that they're largely heritable and can be molded by environment, can be molded by external influences. But remember that the nature versus nurture debate has been over for decades. People just haven't got the fucking memo yet. So when we're talking about, like, the easiest way to understand this is that when we're talking about nature versus nurture, nature is upstream from nurture. Nurture is downstream from nature. Okay. It starts with the biological, it starts with the soup, right? It starts with the building blocks that are already there. What was your mom's genetics? What was your dad's genetics? So the idea of like big 5 personality traits are all traced to heritability. And like they've done twin studies. I think I've got where did I put the thing? Where did that go? I usually have it up. I think I might have pulled it out of the thing. Well. Anyways, look up the 4 laws of behavioral genetics and you'll understand why. Attachment theory, and that's why when I'm like watching this guy talking, shit talking the red pill and then like up talking attachment theory, I'm like, clearly this guy doesn't know anything about behavioral genetics and is talking as if he is an authoritative figure in all of this. And I don't know, is it Prometheus? I forget the guy's name, but he was just on Steve Stewart Williams' show. He's been like probably like a 3rd or 4th time this guy's been on there. And Chris Williamson will have anybody on there who will shit talk the red pill. That's basically it. There's an explicit bias there. There's an explicit bias for date psych. There's an explicit bias for Mac and Murphy. There's an explicit bias for a lot of these guys. And it's like out in the open, and pretty much anything they put on Twitter, anything they report. You notice these guys don't talk about like purchasing behavior of women. They don't talk about, anything that is, it's still evolutionary psychology, but it's not related to like, sexier topics like body count and stuff like that. That they'll go and attack. But if like God Sod is God Sod, before he did, well, actually, I shouldn't even say that, but God Sod's not even, he's an evolutionary psychologist, but his first book was the Purchasing Mind or something like that. I forget what it's called. But it was about influence, like why we buy what we buy, why we make impulse buys. And then there's also, why we make decisions for who we end up pairing with. But it was mostly about economics. It was mostly about, commercial interests. And then of course the parasitic mind, then he gets into a little bit more into the sexier stuff. So, but you'll never see these guys talk about that. You'll never see these guys talk about other aspects of evolutionary psychology, because they're all supposed to be evolutionary psychologists, but they're not. They're just basically masculinity apologists, not unlike Justin Baldoni. who also I dug up an old tweet that good old Alex from Date Psych decided that he was going to pop off and say, well, the reason why these guys don't like Justin Baldoni has nothing to do with diverting hate. It's because he's a good looking dude. I'm like,
Gay.
Yeah. So, yeah, Justin Ball, he's good looking for a barista. So, anyways, getting back to where did it go? I wanted to get back to the that one tweet. There you are. There we go. Okay. So the reason why I brought this up and the reason why this is sort of a social experiment here is like men do not owe women a better life. And you would be interested. It's interesting to see some of these responses here. Men owe themselves a better life. That starts when you stop looking for validation from women. That, of course, is the standard. If there is a unifying motive, let's just say, amongst MGTOW or even black pill guys and even red pill guys, it's like it's stop making women the arbiters of your life. Stop making women the metric of whether you're living a successful life or you're not. Don't let women tell you what kind of life you're living, right? You cannot allow women to be the metric for your life. And we've been talking about that in the red pill, you talk about it in the black pill, you talk about it in MGTOW, MRAs, every single one of all. I look at I look at the red pill as a praxeology, but like if I look at like say MGTOW, even the white pill, right? If I look at MGTOW, white pill, black pill, purple pill, whatever fuck pill, I don't even know. Those are practices. Those are here's how best to use this information, right? So you got to remember that these are guys who actually do have a philosophy. When I you guys already know I'm very kind of sensitive. I'm very kind of resistant when people go, well, Rollo, what's the red pill ideology? I'm like, you don't know the red pill because it's not an ideology. It's not a mission. It's not a verb. It's not a movement. It's not a religion. It's not a cult. It's not a system of belief. It is what it is. It's just about the data. It's just a praxeology. It's like, here it is. Use this information to better your life. Okay. If you want to take it or leave it, you can, as I said before, the red pill is like fire. You can use it to heat your home and cook your food, or you can use it to set your friend on fire or set yourself on fire. Right? It's all in how you're using the information. Right. So when I listen to or I read these tweets from these good, God-fearing Christian women saying that, the red pill is satanically inspired, I'm like, no, it's not. You could go however people are using it in front of you. That's one thing. But of course, they're very, long on rhetoric and short on examples. Even the sort of red pill gatekeepers are very short on examples. But the reason I use this, the men don't owe women a better life, is not when people hear that, when people like it's intentionally vague. And when I originally came up with it, probably 2 years ago, I've been tweeting this for a while, just so you know, but I thought this was a good example of it because you have this woman who is just basically saying, I can't find a guy and I'm 34 years old. No one questions whether or not she's a quality woman. No one says, no one asks, hey, was there a guy in your 20s that you thought was going to be a good, a good dude to get with? But you're like, no, I'm having a good time and I'm going to dump him because I think there's something better coming down the road. And now suddenly I find myself at 34 and it's men's fault. And there's more than enough people and more than enough, usually it comes from the trad cons, but I've seen it come from well-meaning red pill guys too. It's men's fault. Everything is men's fault. Like divorce, men's fault. Cheated, men's fault. Man cheats, his fault. She cheats, you weren't good enough, your fault. My favorite one, you've heard me, I've done full shows on this, which is, are we our sister's keeper, right? Women would be better if men were better. Okay. Well, we wouldn't have to worry about Bonnie Blue and Annie Knight and was there Lily Phillips and all these other, 304ism. The 304ism. It's a 304. Being a hoe is now an ism. It's now a statement of belief. I saw somebody that said 304ism. I'm like, what, did it become an ism? How did that happen? But if men were better, then women would be better. Okay, well, if that's the philosophy you're adopting right now, then women are sinless. They have stop looking for accountability. All these podcasts that are trying to hold women accountable, you're wasting your time because it's men's fault. And if you're on these shows and you feel the same way, that it's, that if men were better, or if men are responsible for the actions and the behaviors of women, then it's time to turn your podcast off, because you're only hindering, even just talking about it, even having them on there. We're going to hold them accountable. You're not women don't be held accountable. And why should they? It's your fault. It's the man's fault. You know what you should do? Get all those women off of the show and put a panel of dudes on there and go, gentlemen, how can you stop being a simp? How can you stop being responsible for the sins of all of these women here? Because it's your fault that they're doing what they're doing. It's your fault that they had to start that OnlyFans. It's your fault that they had to become a stripper. It's your fault that they turned to 304ism. It's your fault. So how are you gonna shape up? How are you gonna be better? How are you going to be better so that women will be better? And that's the basis of this whole fucking tweet. So when I listen to like Charlie Kirk on Turning Point USA talking to that chick, I'll play that video in a minute. When I listen to that, I'm like, where the fuck is this guy coming from? Do women not have agency? Do they not have free will? Because if your position is that it's men's responsibility to be in control of these women, and any bad things, the reason for the decline and fall of Western civilization and all this moral degeneracy and everything, it doesn't have anything to do with the women. It has to do with you, because you let it happen. You men have allowed it to happen. And I would argue once again, I did in this thread here, is that people want to say, well, men need to take responsibility. They need to go to school. They need to go get better jobs. They need to be more emotionally intelligent, which is bullshit. We'll get into emotional intelligence here. I hate that shit. There's no such thing as emotional intelligence. Ladies, where is it? There. Ladies, there is no such thing as emotional intelligence. There, I said it. And I will back that up here with there's so many, like, I don't even need to, just Google emotional intelligence is bullshit, and you'll come up with like dozens and dozens of articles. It's old school, late 70s, early 80s, maybe into the early 90s, fluff pop psychology, and oddly enough, come up around, developed and conceptualized by women. What's shocking, I know. Feels before reals. Yeah, well, that's where it comes from. It's emotional. There's no such thing as emotional intelligence, because intelligence is a cognitive process. Emotion is an emotional process. Okay, I can change your emotional state with 2 shots of tequila. 2 shots of Beth Dutton can change her emotional state with 2 shots of Tito straight up. I can change your emotional state. Kyle, I can change your emotional state with 50 to 100 milligrams of Tren.
Yeah.
You think I could do that? I could
definitely.
Probably do that. I could probably do that. Yes. And overnight. You're not emotionally intelligent. Hold on. Let me shoot this up, and then I'll be intelligent again. Now, your emotional state is subject to chemical control. It is a physical thing and not a cognitive mental thing. So just throwing that out there. Now, is understanding emotional states is reading body language part of that cognition? Yes, but that's intelligence. Understanding whether that guy is like pissed off enough to kick your ass, or that woman is about to cry, yes, that is a social skill, but it is also a cognitive intelligence, not an emotional intelligence. Just because you're like, you can read the signs, right? Here's the thing: if you see a pit bull and it's coming at you and it's slavering, it's about to pounce and take out your jugular, what do you think is emotional state? It's pretty easy. You're not using any emotional intelligence. You're using cognitive intelligence, and you're going to use instinct, because your fight or flight will kick in, and you're going to get adrenaline rush, and you're going to run or you're going to fight. And I suggest you run. So anyways, I think this is funny, because I have to throw this back up here again. Men owe themselves a better life. That's pretty good. Womanese, emotional intelligence. Yeah, a man's ability to read her mind and not my words, and give the exact type of dopamine hit I want at any particular time. Yes. Circling the drain, pursuing the top percentile like gravity. Phoenix Fruit Luffy, who, if I could get on this show, I probably will at some point. Women in their epiphany phase try to oversell a bad product that others got the better version of. Okay, you knew these were coming. In all fairness, I'm sure your answers is buy one of my books. Believe it or not, bro, I've sold a lot of books. I've been doing it for 11 years now. Okay, trust me, when I do shit like this, it's not like, if it was, I would put a link to my Amazon page or my author page if that was hey, want to buy my book. I do have ads on there for selling books, but not on this one. So trust me, when I do this show, I hope you please go to Amazon, buy my books. There you go. Got it. But that's not what the point of the show is. The point of the show is to talk about this and have some sort of discourse, right? Which is sorely lacking in the Manosphere right now. So believe it or not, and then the other thing I love this is, you know what used car salesmen sell? Used cars. You know what the butcher sells? A whole lot of meat. What do authors sell? We sell our books. Sorry, not sorry. But do you think there is anything that is that the sexes owe each other? Now, the reason why I wanted to bring this up is because his response is not unlike a lot of these other ones. Now, he's trying to be measured here, so I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. But is there anything that the sexes owe each other? If you want me to say it in the most pragmatic, neutral expression I can, I would say no. No, they don't. Don't owe anything, especially now in the 21st century, where the gloves have come off, and we have the gloves came off right after the sexual revolution, and now we're looking for gender parity and equity. Don't say equality, because it's never been about equality. It's been about restitution and retribution. That's all feminism has ever been about. But is there anything that they owe each other? You mean on a naturalistic level? No. But are we complements to each other? Yes. Are we better together than we are apart? Yes. Do we owe that to anyone? No, we don't owe that to anybody. But the problem with this is that, and I had a kind of a moment of concept, kind of similar to when I was listening to Owen Cook the other day. I do not know Owen Wilson. Was the fact that if you ask certain questions, you can sort of get a bearing on what that guy's mental point of origin is. So when somebody like this guy right here, but what do you think there's anything that the sexes owe each other? That is a question I would expect from a guy who places women as his mental point of origin. Now, there's other examples of this here. I wanted to throw that out there because this is really more neutral and almost ambiguous in a sense. But for the most part, when I see this, if I say something and I say men do not owe women a better life, that's going to rub people the wrong way. That's going to rub them the wrong way in the sense of their ego investments. Usually, it's ideological, and if it's not, it's religious. If you're a dyed-in-the-wool traditional Orthodox Christian, the answer to this question, or the response to this question is, well, the Bible says we do owe them this and we owe them that and blah, blah, blah. Well, when the guy, when there's a life or death situation, or there is a potential for violence in a situation, like was it a Denny? Penny.
Penny.
Yeah, the guy Penny on the subway there. Did he do the right thing? Like, wasn't Trump saying he was going to give him the Congressional Medal of Freedom or something like that? But society put him in jail for the social contract, the social order took him and put him in jail for doing that. Now people say he did the right thing. He protected women that he didn't know. And we weren't there, so I can't say whether he did or he didn't, but I do understand, I've said before, this is the male protector instinct, and we've talked about the big head babies effect, where men have an innate, evolved protector instinct for women that they don't even know. That's why they'll go put their bodies in front of live ammunition when there's a mass shooting event. And they don't have time to think about it. They just react. It's just impulse. It's just instinct. If men have time to think about it, then they might not be as noble as you might think. If the ship is going down slowly, it's every man for his fucking self. Hey, you wanted equality, baby. We're going to draw straws, and you're not getting on the lifeboat. That might happen. But if there's suddenly James Holmes shows up in the middle of Batman in a theater in Aspen, Colorado, and opens fire, you won't even know that you're doing it. It's an instinct, gut level reaction behavior. So you might, because women are the incubators of the next generation. They are the vulnerable sex. Men are the disposable sex. That's written into your hard code and has been there for 200,000 years. Because sperm is cheap and eggs are expensive. That's basically what it boils down to. And I don't care what your religion, if you can apply religion to that, awesome. It's honorable. Like the guy, you notice the very first video, by the way, I should explain that. The very first video was of a pizza delivery guy who ran in. That wasn't a fireman. That was a pizza delivery guy went in there after the kid, right? Let me see if I'll give you this story here real quick, because I do have it. Here it is. I'll just read you the breakdown here. From that body cam video. The body cam video was this. It was a 25-year-old pizza delivery driver rushes into a burning house to save 4 children. After rescuing them, the kids inform him that another child is still inside. Without hesitation, he re-enters the flames, finds the girl, and leaps out of the window with her dad, or with her in his arms, and then carries her to a police officer whose body cam captures the heroic moment. That's what that video was about, just to give you a little bit of a background on all of that stuff. So why did I put that in there? Well, I've made this case before, is there's no such thing as toxic masculinity. So the masculinity that inspired that, it prompted that, instinctually prompted that the 25-year-old pizza delivery guy, that prompted him to run in there, grab the kids, and then actually not hesitate and go back in again, right? That masculinity is the same impulsive masculinity that makes these dudes like jump off like bridges into like you see these videos of these guys just doing these high dives and just jumping on, death defying, height acrobatics and stuff like that. You go, well, these people are stupid, or the title of the video, this is why women live longer. Yeah, it is actually, but the thing is that same kind of bonehead masculinity is necessary. It's just expressed in a different way. So ladies, cut us some fucking slack. All right. There is no such thing as toxic masculinity. It's only whether it benefits you and the 4 kids that are still burning alive in a fucking house, right? That's when you want masculinity. That's when you want guys to act. That's that protector dynamic that I was just talking about a minute ago. And that is noble. That is honorable. That is integrity. That's respectable. That's respect, blah, blah, blah. And we add all these layers of social acceptability. Like, we want to reinforce that. We need guys to go in there and run after, kids and stuff like that. And I 100% agree. The thing is once we take that protector dynamic and we start using it for other things, as I said before, when I was doing the big head babies episode here, one of the ways that traditional conservatives, and hell, even liberals really too, one of the ways that they use men's masculine, or that protector dynamic, is by adding things onto it, saying this is what you should do. So now it's not that you're running into the burning building to save the kids that you don't even know. It's you owe women a better life. You owe them this, even if she's not your wife, even if she's not your blood relative, whatever. You owe them this. A real man does X, and anytime you hear that X is what they're trying to sell you. They're selling you on something, because what they're doing is they're taking that natural protector instinct and they're manipulating it and exploiting it for whatever their agenda is, for whatever their ideology is. And for the most part, it's usually just some way of reaffirming that agenda, or reaffirming that ideology, or reaffirming choices that they made that maybe they're sure of, or maybe they're not quite so sure of. So, wait a minute. Wait a minute. There we go. Thank you. I would say that all of those phrases, thank you for a super chat, Rational Agent. I would say that all those phrases, e.g., if men were better, are just intended to gaslight men and to keep them stuck in the bucket. Yeah, the crab in the bucket analogy. Many of them are starting to believe that they are stupid. They don't understand the game and see no future. Yeah, why are you going to play a game that's rigged? The people who want you to behave that way, they don't care about you. Okay, and I know that's really. Oh, thanks for that, Sorralita. Happy New Year to you, my friend. But you're playing a game whose rules are already rigged by people who hate you in the first place. Whenever I listen to somebody like Charlie Kirk, or I listen to especially like more religious guy, he's religious enough, I guess. Ben Shapiro's another one. Whenever I listen to guys who are sort of like these dyed-in-the-wool trad cons, Matt Walsh maybe too, and they want to tell you what a real man does. See, this is what real masculinity is about. We don't need less toxic masculinity, or we don't need less masculinity. We need more. Why? To solve women's problems. That's why I put the tweet on. That's why I said you don't owe women a better life. Why? Because that's solving women's problems. It would have hit a whole lot different. Imagine me doing this. If I had to put on that tweet, if I said, you don't have to solve women's problems, would that have been the same as like, owe women a better life? I think it probably would have hit differently, I guess. But the entire thing really kind of comes down to a manipulation of that protector dynamic, and essentially placing men as it's like bringing them back down to sort of this median level with women, and in some ways even it almost re-pedestalizes women. So if you're one of these guys where it's like don't pedestalize women, don't make, or was it the MGTOW mantra, right? Don't make women the measurement of your life. Okay, understood. That's a red pill, paradigm, I guess, whatever. Anyway, so it's best practices not to make women the metric, the center, whatever. If you want to talk about Royce's old 16 Commandments of Poon, it's best not to make women. You make your mission and not your woman the focus of your life, right? Great. Imagine me trying to say that at Turning Point USA. It's like the problem that the left and the right both have when it comes to this issue is they're both using that male protector dynamic to manipulate men to do what they want them to do. For leftists, for the wokesies, it's we want you to be sensitive, and we want you to get in touch with your emotions, and we want you to be a touchy-feely guy, and we want you to listen to anything Scott Galloway says, right? That's pretty much the whole thing. Until the building is on fire and there's kids that are going to be burned alive, and then we want you to man up. Get off your ass, and if you don't, you're a lazy piece of shit, and if you don't, you're a coward, and if you don't go in there and risk your life and limb and risk being burned alive along with them, then you're not a man. But wait, but that's good. You can do that as necessary. But when it's not, we want you to stand down. We want you to man down. We want you to believe all women. We want you to support the agenda. We want you to be a cuttlefish. We want you to be a male feminist until we need you to sack the fuck up and go out there and crack skulls. Then that's okay. And they can't seem to realize that, and it seems like completely logical. It's like it's complete like cognitive dissonance, but they don't understand the fact that the same masculinity that inspired that guy to go into that building with the kids is the same one where that guy might take that masculinity and use it for his own fucking purposes, to better his own fucking life, to build a business, or to educate himself, or to write a book, or to do his art, to do his craft, to do his whatever he's inspired to do for himself, to be a better individual, to be the best version of himself, not because he's trying to solve women's problems, such as this chick right here, which she needs a more emotionally intelligent dude, right? Where'd it go? There we are. I never thought I'd be meeting so many men at this age who lack effort, intention, and emotional intelligence. And she's not fucking wrong. Well, she is about the emotional intelligence. She's not wrong. The guys do lack effort. They do lack intention. But no one's asking why. No one's asking why are guys like this now? Why would they be, uninspired? Why isn't the juice worth the squeeze anymore? Sorry, I gotta shout out to your MGTOW guys. There you go. There's 3 a bone. Why do these guys think that the juice isn't worth the squeeze anymore? And I'm talking about this, and the reason why I'm getting into this is because I'm expanding the scope of Reignite right now, and I want to open it up to guys who are sort of like in this what for lack of a better term, what people have been calling the Lost Boys generation, the guys who are like failures to launch, right? The guys who are like rudderless when it comes to purpose and the direction of their lives, and they don't know what to do with themselves. And I think that you get into some very dangerous territory. Richard Hania, I think you get into some very dangerous territory when you try to give these guys some sort of emotional appeal to what a real man fucking is. Because to both tradcons and to the wokesy left, it's do what we want you to do. Be a tool. Be a utility for women. Because women can't find eligible guys. Women can't find, and when they do, and they have the kid, then they divorce them, and then they have the guy offs everybody, right? Why is that happening? Why is body count a big deal? Why is, why do guys lack effort and intention? She's essentially complaining about her state, but nobody's going to call her out on that because that would be unfair, right? Well, we can't. Sorry, that wouldn't be unfair. That would be unflattering. If somebody said, well, maybe, honey, she's all right in this picture. I'm looking at the picture right here. I mean, she's okay. Here, let me put it back up again. There we go. Not bad, but you can't get it. I can't see a full body shot. I love it when people go, "Well, what would you rate me, Rilla?" Like, I'm just looking at your face from the chest. I need more to work with, baby. And this is by the way, this is a very common complaint from women. It's like, where are all the good guys? Well, they're in your 20s where you left them. Why weren't you looking then? When you're at the peak of your sexual marketability, why are you complaining at this point? But for me to say that now, I'm an incel, right? For me to even make the proposition, and I'm not saying it's even true, but for me to even say, you know what, maybe it's because you're 34 years old. Maybe it's because you are what the Chinese would call a yellowed pearl. Maybe it's because you're less desirable at 34 than you were at 24. There's a lot of variables here that we're not even considering. But do you know what we are considering? We're considering that she is setting the operative here, the operative narrative, meaning she is right. And she's right about a couple of things, but she could be wrong about other things. But we don't look at it that way. We presume in a gynocentric social order that if a woman has a complaint about a man, legitimate or not, she is setting the correct narrative, and men have to follow along with that. That's how you get Charlie Kirk at Turning Point USA. That's how you get these guys who don't care about men's struggles. That's how you get Matt Walsh, Andrew Clavin, Michael Knowles. I can run off the list of these other guys. Anyone who's telling you men need to do this, men need to be better, men got to step up, man up, man up. Anybody who's telling you what a real fucking man is, look at what their motives are. Because their motives aren't for you to become a better man. They have no concern for you whatsoever. They have concern for the women who can't find a dude. That's what they're focused on. Because their mental point of origin is not themselves, it's chicks. And it always has been, and it always fucking will be. So whenever somebody says, if I say something that's like factually true, and it's unflattering about female nature, right? If I say, women tend to lead with their emotions. If I say something like that, which is factually true. If I say something like that, well, men are emotional too. Have you seen men lately? Do you know any actual men? I know lots of rational women, blah, blah, blah. And especially if it's coming from a dude, right? But that guy who's coming up with, there has to be a yin to the yang. There has to be some sort of balance or to balance to the gender force. That guy's mental point of origin is not himself. It is womankind. It is the sisterhood. And most guys are not even aware of that. They are automatically masculine apologists, and they are automatically white knights, more or less, by order of degree. They're white knights. So when I see somebody like Murphy, or I see, Alex from Date Psych and the rest of these dudes, the reason why they have a problem with the red pill is because we're stating factual information about female nature that they need the yin to the yang for. That's why you get Mac and Murphy talking about, well, men who have high body counts, they can't hold a relationship together. And nobody questions whether or not this is factually accurate. Where are you stat? The guy never fucking posts stats as it is, and if he does, he flashes it on screen really quick and it pops right back off because he knows nobody's going to go check it out. That's what's called data laundering. You can come up with like bad data or junk science. If you repeat it enough or you give it to enough big accounts, you launder it and it becomes legit after a while. It's exactly what Alex from Date Psych does. He goes and takes these fucking Twitter polls, or they'll do an online survey of some kind and then call it fucking science. And then pass it off to Chris Williamson or whoever has a bigger account than him, has a louder voice than him. They rebroadcast it, and that's the laundering. Well, if it came from Tim Pool, which I've heard Tim Pool actually repeat bullshit stats, Twitter poll snowball stats from Alex from Date Psych, when Tim Pool is repeating it, it must be the gospel truth from down on high, right? It must have been straight from the burning bush. Same thing with Rogan. Same thing with Chris Williamson. We were just talking about that guy. Was talking about attachment styles and everything like that. People want to say, "Oh, it's legit. It's legit." No, it's bullshit. It's absolute fucking bullshit. And I can show you it's bullshit because of the 4 laws of genetic behaviorism. I can show you that it kills off those sacred cows. But if you hear it coming out of this dude who's a fucking male model and is, like this on his fucking, his banner on his YouTube channel, that sounds like it's fucking real. That's data laundering. And it will be, by the way, one of the topics, oddly enough, one of the topics we were talking about with Owen Cook last night was how AI is going to be so endemic and it's going to be so integrated, so integral to our society, to our social media, and to just how we run things and how we do things in the future, that you're going to not be able to separate the bullshit from the real shit, right? And the reason why we're talking about this is because he was saying that what's going to happen is authenticity will become more marketable in the future as a result of that. So if people say, if AI is like, you can find stats for fucking anything, go on Perplexity and you can find a stat for damn near anything. Quote that, launder it enough times, put it on Steve Stewart Williams show or fucking Alex from Date Psych show, or fucking what's his name, Chris Williamson show, and now it's legit. People build their fucking lives around. Oh, it must be, well, those red pill guys, I guess that's the last nail in the coffin for those guys. No, you're just making a straw man so you can knock it down. Why would they do there? It's to the point where it's not implicit bias anymore. It's explicit bias. They do these things because they want to find some way to find the yin to the yang, because their mental point of origin is not themselves, and it's not men. It is women, and it always will be women, because that's what plays. That's what's going to get eyes on the screen. That gets click-through rate. That gets audience retention. That gets impressions, because YouTube loves that shit. Oh, you found something to fuck with those Manosphere guys? Sure, you go to the head of the class, go to the top of the heap. That's how the algorithm works, man. So some of these other ones, Richard Hania, unsurprisingly, there's a huge blind spot here that missed the entire other half of the equation, which of course begs the salient question: are modern day women doing better? Do they behave in accordance to ladylike etiquette? I don't care what their etiquette or their ladylikeness is. I'm just want to know what their fucking the nuts and bolts of this is. But anyways, do they navigate today's intersexual marketplace with chastity or some semblance of sexual temperance? Okay. Don't know, don't care. All I care about is, what is your mental point of origin? What is your focus? Now, everybody wants to layer on a new sort of varnish of moralism on top of this. Are they acting a moral, pious, pure way? No, they're not. No, like what? And what's the definition of that? I love this. I wanted to point out too. I kind of missed this when Mac and Murphy's talking about body count. And why, those red pill freaks. By the way, that was an old video. It's getting passed around like it's a new video. It's an older video. But the thing is like no one even like throws out other questions like, well, what's high body count? What is a high body count? What's the threshold of sexual partners before you're doomed to divorce? Or I think it's funny, like guys with higher body counts have a really tough time. They're more prone to cheating. They're more prone to divorce. Blah blah blah. Like, yeah, but the guys with higher body counts are so minuscule a percentage of the male population that does that actually affect the whole? Probably not. So if men are concerned about women's body counts and women are concerned about, very few women that I've ever polled on like live in studio on Access Vegas, they don't care. I'll tell you what they care about. They don't want a virgin. That's what they care about. You got to have at least one. Yeah, what's your body count? Oh, one. Okay, you're in. No, when we asked that question, they're like, do you care about men's body counts? And they were like, well, only if he's fucked so many chicks in this city that I would run into one when I was at a club, because I wouldn't want to be put in that awkward position. And I'm like, okay, so it's a social thing and it's not necessarily whatever. Yeah, because women want to get with guys that other women want to fuck. Ergo, they're high quality guys that other men want to be and other women want to fuck. If nobody wants to fuck you, it's pretty good bet that you're not as high quality as you think you are. I don't care what holy book you read or what your net worth is. Chicks don't want to fuck you. That's part of the equation. It's all about sex. No, that's a very important part of it. Let's just say that. It's not the only thing, but it's a very important big part of it. So having the ability to be attractive, whether or not you're capitalizing on it, is immaterial. Being that guy that other women want to fuck, whether you're fucking them or you're not, being that guy, that's the sign of quality. That is an indicator of that man's attractiveness, that man's quality. Are you the kind of guy that other women want to fuck? Are you the kind of guy that other men want to be? So like I said, no woman wants to get with a guy that no other chick wants to fuck. Right? Because women associate a man's status and his prestige and his quality with their own egos. She's the kind of guy, or she's the kind of girl who can get this kind of guy. Haha, see you bitches later. That's pretty much what I'm so hot and I'm so good and I'm so fucking on top of my game that this is the kind of guy that I can get. There is that ego appeasement factor that goes along with that for women. Geez, I got a lot of these. Let me run through these. Professor Rolo, what do you think about the book? Okay, I already answered that. Oh, I also want to say the Tesla truck guy.
Yeah.
Okay, so he was going through a divorce.
I don't know if it was a divorce or not. I mean, what I heard is that I guess the child is not his. Oh,
okay. So a biological child thing. Yeah. Now, this is rumor. This is alleged. I don't know for a fact, but I did see, what was he on? They were talking about him on Sean Kelly's show. Yeah, which I've been on. And they were talking about like, he was in charge of like anti-gravitic drones or something like that. I was like, damn, now I'm interested. I want to know what's going on. I don't think, it's funny, whenever there's like, an active, like, remember the worst active shooter event in U.S. history, 77 people dead in Las Vegas. That was in 2017, by the way, too.
Yeah, that's a whole cover up there too.
Where's our answers? Here we are. Like almost 6 or 7 years later. Where's our answer? And let me explain something to you. The Tesla truck blowing up, it's be another 7 years. Where's our answer? I guarantee you it'll be the same thing. If shit goes down in Vegas, you will never know. Especially if it blew up at like the MGM or like one of the big clubs here. You will never know. The shit that goes on in those clubs, you will never know what happens, man. Trust me, this is from a guy who used to be the art director for the Tri properties in Reno. As well as, people don't know this about me. I used to be the art director for the Silver Legacy, the El Dorado Casino, and Circus up in Reno. I've been the art director for Horizon Casino when it was up in Lake Tahoe. as well as a few other ones that aren't around anymore. And then I was also the art director by default. I was art director for the Lighthouse Point Casino in Greenville, Mississippi. And that was the first time I ever went to Mississippi. So yeah, I know a thing or two about the casino business. Just saying. Happy New Year from South Africa. Looking to replace porn with gaming. Okay. Or is gaming just as bad? I would argue not. But again, it's still an escape. So we'll address that in a moment. Is gaming sedation? It can be. Learning to play guitar and gymming also. Okay. Here's what you want to do. Because it sounds to me like if you're going to replace porn is, people are going to say it's a dopamine addiction. Can we clarify right now that I'm going to go Andrew Huberman on you for a moment. Dopamine is the hormone or the hormone. It's a hormone.
Yeah.
Dopamine is a hormone that is the precursor that makes you anticipate the endorphins that come after it, the pleasurable chemicals that come after it. So dopamine itself is not the feel good. It's the endorphins that come after that. But it is the dopamine that gets you to anticipate the next hit, to anticipate the next pull of the slot machine, right? That's how people get. You want to know how gambling addicts get that way? It's because of dopamine. You want to know why you're on Twitter and it's like 11:30 at night and your ass should have been to sleep an hour ago, and then you're scrolling and scrolling. That's the same thing. You think, if I just scroll a little bit more, there'll be something that's more entertaining than this bullshit. You just keep going. That's the dopamine hit. So remember, dopamine is not the feel good. It's the endorphins that come after it that are actually the feel good. Sorry, I don't mean to go Mr. Wizard on you. To replace porn with gaming. So porn, obviously, you're anticipating the next video, right? So there can be a dopamine thing associated with that. But the pleasurable stuff is after you get a nut, then that's when you have the endorphins hit. So, replace porn with gaming. What kind of games?
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, are you going to play Warhammer 40,000? That's a very expensive new sedation, I must say. I'm going to presume you mean video gaming. Or is gaming just as bad? They're both, I don't know. I think maybe gaming might be a little, if I had to say one's worse than the other, I would say porn's probably worse than the other. Just simply because it is more of an immediate dopamine sort of scramble, let's just say. Gaming, I'm pretty sure you can get addicted to gaming, but I hate to even use the term addiction because it's not really, it's habituation. It's remember this. Whenever I talk about sedation, and it's funny you should say, I'm in the midst of writing my 6th book, which is called Reignite. There's a dedicated chapter in there to sedation, and that's actually one of the, I think it is the first chapter there, because I can't help you guys with anything until you can unsedate yourself, until you can get the fuck out of bed. And it goes through the process of identifying what is sedating you. So in this case, it looks like you're saying that pornography is the source, is what you think is sedating you the most. And so therefore you're going to try to replace it with another escapism. All right. No, I would argue that if you really want to escape, start focusing more on guitar and start focusing more on going to the gym. At least those are healthy ways of triggering that dopamine. Gaming can be sedation done to excess. I'm not saying video games are bad, because Lord knows I play enough Space Marine 2. But when I went over to Mike's yesterday because we were waiting for Owen to show up for the conference room and stuff, yeah. He's there and he's playing Madden, and I'm watching him play. I've played Madden with him, but I'm not there. I'm at my place. He's at his place, right? I get there and I'm like, is this how you are when you play games? So I'm like, holy shit. Because if something one of his players drops the ball, incredibly drops the ball, he's like, did you see that? What? You all saw that. You all saw. I'm just like, damn, are you the host of Access Vegas?
He's in a different zone.
Yeah, he's he's in the zone. He loves that shit, man. And I know he does, but I never saw it firsthand. He gets, it's immersive for him, and especially when it comes to playing Madden and stuff. I still haven't convinced him to play Space Marine 2. Yeah, I gotta get it. I'm like, come on, man, it's game of the year. So here's the thing about sedations. Sedations tend to be, well, there's a chemical aspect, but there's also a psychological aspect, and that psychological aspect is what I call escapism. Other people do too. What it means is that you'd rather spend more time in your escape life than your shitty real life. And I understand a lot of people have some really shitty lives. That's why people do drugs. That's why people that's why too many women smoke too much weed. That's why people become alcoholics. That's why people get addicted to prescription opioids. That's why people play video games. That's why people jerk off a lot. Because it's immediate. It triggers like I said, the endorphin rush, whatever that chemical cocktail is that make you feel good, your post-nut, clarity. Whatever it is that makes you feel good. You have to remember that a lot of the things that we have as sedations used to be rewards for performance. So you couldn't just, up until, sexual revolution, you couldn't just rub one out. You had to use your imagination. Like, oh, I'm going to fuck, you're thinking about it, right? Because there's no Hustler magazine, there's no Playboy, there's no nothing, right? Imagine like I was thinking about this in what was it, the prequel to Yellowstone? It was 1883.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, 1883.
I love it when people go, "Oh, it was so much more wholesome back then," and it was a man was a man, and a woman was a woman, and they only had sex to have babies, and da, da, da. I'm like, yeah, because they didn't have Pornhub. They would be if they did that or a functional equivalent. They would probably be doing that because you had to jump through hoops to get laid. You had to do things. If you wanted to eat, you have to go chase down something and hunt it and eat it. Right? There was no fucking burrito supreme at Taco Bell. So why do people get fat? Because high calorie dense food is very easy to come by in the United States. I mean, you could layer on seed oils and fat and butter and whatever the fuck else you want to. The fact of the matter is we have very abundant food supply in most developed nations right now. That's why people are fat asses. That's why they don't go to the gym, because the gym the gym actually makes you work for the reward. If people people would use the gym as an escape is if they went there just once and they got jacked as fuck on the first time. Mm-hmm. They'd be like, I'm going there again, but that doesn't. That's not how it works. There's like that long-term reward thing. So sex is something that's easy to get now, or I should say the functional virtual equivalent of it is easier to get. And so people would much rather spend time in an escapism that gives them a reward. Like if they want to play video games and everything like that, do you play it on easy mode? Do you play it on hard mode? Do you want the cheat codes for it? It's kind of up to the individual, I guess. But again, it's an escapism. Porn is an escape. It's a sedation as well. So is alcohol. So is weed. So is, by the way, like overeating. Gluttony. Think about the 7 deadly sins. Pretty much every one of those is an escapism of some sort. And they also have evolutionary roots. I did that one time, and I had so many religious people were jumping all up my ass, and I'm like, well, if you look at the 7 deadly sins, they all map onto human needs, right? Lust, sex, gluttony. I want to eat. Survival, right? Pride, right? Why I want to feel good about myself. If you go down the list, every one of those transfers or maps onto sort of an evolutionary need that, take it to excess, can be damaging in a social sense. So yeah, I would say learning to play guitar and gymming. So my advice to you, my friend, is to keep it up with the play guitar and gymming, but also, what are you trying to escape? Because all my advice in the world is, gaming, sedation, blah, blah, blah. It's not going to make any difference if your shitty real life is something that you need to change in the first place. So if that's the case, then you got to address the root of the problem. You're just putting a Band-Aid on it at this point. Because I will tell you this, this is not I don't believe this is a chapter in any of my books, but I have a really great essay that I wrote a long time ago. Like Ryan Stone actually refers to this lots. It's called The Something Else. So like when I listen to like Candace Owens say, we should ban all pornography. Okay. But you know what? It's going to be something else. The guys will just find something else to fixate on because they need that escape from their shitty real lives. Take away all the porn, but they'll start doing opioids. Okay, take away all the drugs. Okay, they're going to play video games. Okay, take away all the video games. Make them completely joyless. Make them go back to work. Onto the plantation, right? And even if you did take away all of sort of like the modern sedations of today, they're going to smoke banana peels. They're going to get inventive of ways to avoid reality and get into escape. They'll play too much Dungeons and Dragons. Take all that away too. Yeah. It will always be something else. So with that in mind, what is it that sucks about your life, and how can you make your life a better place, the life that you want to live in rather than escape from? Hey, Rollo, could you please describe women's agency in different terms? I'd like to explain, Fran, better. This term does not exist in Europe. Okay. So agency is actually a feminist term. That's why I use it. When I say women's agency, you're using this in the respect that I usually say this on Twitter, which is whenever chicks want to be heard, they take their clothes off. They always get a hashtag. They always get naked, right? Because that's their first impulse. That's their women's first agency. In most cases, their only agency, their only power. Think of agency as power, right? Their only power, their only way of the only tool that's in their toolbox is their sexuality. And they learn this from a very early, as soon as they grow boobs when they're 14, whatever it is, that's when they begin to understand their effect on boys and then on men later on, because their sexuality is their only form of agency. So when, like this woman, like a good example, when that woman gets to be 34 years old, she's experiencing a decline in her agency and is complaining about it and saying it's men's fault that she can't find a fucking man. Well, I bet you anything, when she was 24, 10 years ago, when she had more sexual agency, she didn't have any fucking problem finding a guy to fucking buy her a drink or to be intentional with her. To be emotionally intelligent, like fuck, if guys will fake whatever the fuck they have, they'll say whatever they have to say to get in your pants, right? What was the other one? Lack of effort. They put in a lot of effort when you were 24 years old. I will guarantee you they put in way more effort when you were 24 than they do when you're 34. You know why? Because you had more sexual agency when you were 24 years old. So I don't make the rules. I just work here, man. I just report the news. So when we're talking about agency, the reason why I specifically use the word agency is because that's what Gloria Steinem and Betty Friedan used to use. And I'm just basically throwing it back in their face. It's what most modern feminists, if you go to any kind of, if you go to a women's studies class, they'll use that term like interchangeably with power. Women's agency, they're empowering, female empowerment, agency, they'll use the same thing. All it really means is it's just sort of an abstraction or a catch-all phrase for women's power, their ability to do something, and to sort of affect their world, their outside world. Okay. So when I say women's only agency is their sexuality, I'm using that because that's their sexuality is really their power. Once it starts to decay with age, or they age out of the sexual marketplace because the next crop of 24-year-olds have come into the marketplace, that's when they start complaining. That's when you hear this, like, you don't hear women of 23, 24 say the same things that girl does in that TikTok thing. Why? Because she knows the time is short. Let him who hath understanding reckon the number of the beast. She knows that the time's almost up. She has an expiration date. What do you mean, Rollo? Girls can be beautiful into their 50s. Well, yeah, they can if they take care of themselves, but that doesn't have anything to do with beauty. The wall starts here. The expiration date is here, ladies. It's not here. It's here. When you're 34 and you go, wow, I can't compete with a 24-year-old anymore, that's the wall. When you're 38, 39 years old and you're going, I should divorce this guy now while I'm still hot and I'm still this side of 40, because then I can go and find the guy, the one that got away. Then I can go find the guy that is really my soulmate, who fucks me the way that I like to be fucked. And I've already got kids, and this guy's going to be my you're basically making your ex-husband your sugar daddy, but you're not fucking him. Why does that happen around 38, 39 years old? Why do women start picking up personal trainers right around that age? It's a Scooby-Doo mystery. Because they have a psychological deep understanding that their agency is almost up. That's the wall. When women lose can women lose agency? Can they hit the wall when they're in their 20s? Yes. If they get fat, yes. If they have this bitchy fat attitude, right? If they have like women can hit the wall at any age. But again, remember, the wall's not necessarily here. It's right here. I can't compete anymore. Therefore, I need to cash out and get a guy. That's really what the wall or the concept of the wall, the mental image of the wall is really about female agency and its perishable nature of female agency. So hopefully that does something for you. Like I said, the only reason I use agency is because it's what like feminists have been using for a long time. People know this. When I was at UNR, I had to take a women's studies or class. And I took women in literature, which actually I kind of liked because I like writing, right? But I also wanted to put my money where my mouth was. Like people say, oh, you don't know anything about feminists, blah, blah, blah. I took women in literature. I understand feminist rudimentary concepts as a result of that. But I also took it because of another reason, because it satisfied a capstone class, it satisfied a humanities requirement, and it satisfied a diversity requirement. Oh, and then also an English requirement. Oh, we got to throw in something utility. Yeah, English. 4 requirements, right? So capstone, humanities, diversity, and then an English thing, right? So that's women in literature satisfied all of those in one class, one 4-unit class. All of those killed 4 in one time. I'm like, fuck yeah, I'll take this class. There's only one other class that satisfied all 4 of those. You know what it was?
What was it?
Holocaust studies. So essentially, women in literature was the functional equivalent of the Holocaust. Let that sink in for a little bit. Provision and protection has become an entitlement or incentive rather than a woman's worthiness, a key word. Yeah. We need to replace men must do better with men will no longer accept responsibility without the corresponding level of authority. Glad you said that, Thomas, because we're going to get into a video by Turd Flinging Monkey today. That's exactly where I'm going with this, by the way. So, well done. Bravo. You get one of these. Because and I was going to do this as sort of like the preamble for the video, but the idea that men need to take more responsibility to be more intentful or whatever, to be more intentional, to show more effort, to have more emotional intelligence, to give women all of the things that they're requiring, means that men must be more responsible. If we're our sister's keeper, men must be more responsible, right? But we do not have the authority to affect that responsibility. And that's what Charlie Kirk and the rest of these, to use a Mac and Murphy phrase, those TradCon freaks, nameless, ambiguous TradCon freaks all seem to never grasp is that responsibility without authority is slavery. So, but we'll come out. Well, but that's your preview because I want to do the video. I've done the video 2 years ago, 4 years ago. Same thing as chivalry or white knighting. Chivalry is a much different concept, but yeah. Why put in effort for no reward and possible punishment? Yet again, and for people who hate you. Society is built on the male sex drive. Yes, thank you. Any male-female dynamic is designed to simultaneously extract as much value as possible out of that drive and keep the man in check and captured. Yes, that's why you want to know why the red pill is so dangerous to a gynocentric social order or a social order in general, or why religious people think that it's the devil. It's because it has the potential to upset that society. It has the potential to throw things off. As you were saying before, this male sex drive and the performance that is necessary, or used to be necessary to get pussy, is no longer there. Pornography is making these guys listless and lazy, and I would 100% agree with you. 100% agree. It is a sedation. I keep said in the first part of Reignite, I said, I can't help you at all until you get unsedated. I can give you all the advice in the world. I can give you practical, actionable information, and it will mean jack shit to you if you can't get out of bed. It will mean nothing to you if all you're going to do is read it, close the book, and then go back to jerking off. Read it, close a book, and pop pills, or smoke weed, or call Uber Eats, or play Call of Duty. What are you playing these days? What's the hot game? It's not Space Marine 2 anymore. That couldn't be Space Marine 2. But I can't do anything for you until you can get off your fucking ass. And you have to form new neural pathways. You have to habituate yourself to being the guy that gets to the gym, to being the guy that is more self-disciplined, and to be so for yourself. Not because you want to be a better husband for your wife, not because you want to be a more eligible bachelor for 34-year-old washout chick here. None of that, because you need to be the one that you improve for. And then shit will come. After that, the great thing about this is, like, if the red pill is about male empowerment and those guys get to a state of empowerment, that upsets the fucking apple cart, man. That upsets the system. Guys getting to, you want to know why guys will say, oh, those dudes over there, that's a group of that's a group of gay guys. They think they're so modern. Look, they're all lifting together with their shirts off, whatever. I don't even know what the fuck that is, right? I don't care what the group is. The feeling behind that is threatening. Guys organizing is threatening. Guys talking together in groups about anything is threatening. You want to know why male space was such a big deal? Like right around September, October, we were having this conversation on male space, which is a conversation and a chapter after chapter. I've written about this dozens of times, and people don't get it. They think that, oh, well, men can go make whatever space they want to. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about pre-existing male spaces that women come into and destroy. That was what the conversation was about. But of course, what do they got to do? They got to ridicule it. They got to juvenilize it, right? Oh, these guys are just like little kids. They want a treehouse that says no girls allowed. The He-Man Woman Haters Club. Like it's this stupid cartoonsy idea. And then because they know that explaining it takes some time. It takes some understanding. You have to actually want to understand it to get the point of what male space is really about. But the reason why they're doing that, the reason why they ridicule it, is because they're scared of it. Because if guys get together, that's when shit happens. That's when fucking heads start cracking. That's when that's the threat. That's the threat point. So guys getting together to talk about guy things, hell, just to hang out, man. They want to infantilize it. They want to ridicule it. They want to say, "Oh, me big man." That's always a joke. It's in every fucking sitcom, for crying out loud, man. It's this constant pushing down of the masculine, constant. Because if guys get together, they're scared of what will happen. That's why they're scared of me. That's why they're scared of Mike. That's why they're scared of shows like this. That's why or mine or Access Big. They're scared that guys might get together, think better of themselves, for themselves, and organize and do something about it. That's what scares them shitless. And you know who else it scares shitless? It scares weak, lesser men too, who are effectively trying to identify with the feminine because they think that they're cuttlefish, right? They're sneaky fuckers. They think that if they identify with the feminine, then that's the key to getting pussy. And if they can ridicule guys and they can shit all over anything that's conventionally masculine, so be it. You want to know why your churches are empty? They're devoid of men right now? Like, I remember, I said this before, like, I think it was back in 2014, 2015. Like, there was this mass exodus of guys from church culture, whatever your church happens to be. And at some point, like, these men's ministry guys looked at, where are all the men in the congregation? And they're not, they're all in the Manosphere. And I remember talking to these guys, and you know who you are. And I remember talking to these guys and said, Rollo, how come the Manosphere, well, it was starting to become the Manosphere. How come the red pill is so attractive to these guys? I said, because it's not hostile to conventional masculinity. If you go into those churches, it has been a hostile environment. Like they don't want men to organize other than like men's Bible study. That's what they want. And they want to say, oh, you go on your men's retreat and pretend like you're in the movie 300. That's what they want you to do. Like, hey, carry a spirit. I'm gonna have a chest. Oh. Feel good, honey? Yeah. Or I love this when you've got, it's usually like the Valentine's Day sermon. I can't wait for Valentine's Day. The Valentine's Day sermon is always like, ladies, God, just let him lead more. Allow him to lead. So what that's saying to what the message that's, if you're a pastor, by the way, if you say, ladies, let him lead a little bit. He needs to be the leader in the household. You got to let him lead. But we know who the real authority is, right? Nah, wink, wink, nod, nod, right? Because the fact that you're saying let or allow, or there's this sort of permissive, you giving him permission, it means that she's the one that's in authority to begin with. And the very fact that would seem like the more natural thing for like a guy who's supposed to be in a position of authority as the pastor of a church or something like that. The very fact that guy, that would come out of his mouth without him even thinking, that means it's sort of like subconsciously part of his psyche, that the woman is always the authority. The feminine is always correct. And they're not. They're not correct, as we can see. And the more we sit here and the more we sit on our fucking thumbs and the more we watch this shit happen, we're going to go, well, how women will be better if men were better? Well, then stop saying that. Stop telling a women that you're going to allow them to lead. That shouldn't even be a thought in your head. You know why it's a thought in your head? Because women are your mental point of origin, pastor, holy man, Mr. Christian. Women are your mental point of origin. Men need to do better. Why? Because women need eligible husbands, good Christian men husbands. No, they need to be better for themselves. That's what they need to be better for. And once we get past that hurdle, then maybe women can qualify for those really good guys instead of the other fucking way around. But you can't get there. You know why? Because women are your mental point of origin. Stop it. Just fucking stop it. And I don't care if you're Orthodox or Catholic or evangelical or whatever the fuck you happen to be. You could be Jewish. You could be Muslim. You could be Hindu. I don't care. If your mental point of origin is women, you are a disgrace to your fucking religion. You really are, because that's not in your book. That's not in your holy book. Your holy book says men are the authority over women. And damn near everyone that I researched when I was writing religion, my fourth book. I took a long time, so you got to appreciate that. As Cappy succinctly put it, society fighting against male sex drive. Yes. Getting back to that, the male sex drive, I think it was it Freud? I think Freud said all energy is sexual. And I don't mean like, ooh, energy. I mean, all motivation, all drive, all ambition is sexual. It distills back down to sexuality. Everything is about sex except sex. Sex is about power. But no, I think it was Freud who said that. The things that make a guy want to like invent a dishwasher. Well, eventually that guy wants to sell that stuff, make a lot of money so he can fucking get laid, have kids, and live comfortably, right? The guy who creates a computer, the guy who makes a virus, the guy who builds a skyscraper, the architect who does this. So like guys get into damn near every field because they think they're going to be profitable enough at that field because at some point they're going to want to get laid, right? So, is it me or is it the modern definition of a real man, someone who accepts responsibility without authority? That's the modern definition of it. Again, hold that thought because I'm going to, when I get into turd flinging monkeys thing, we'll talk about that. There you go. And sometimes those nice women band together and turn against you, leaving you thinking, what the hell is going on? Thank you, Rollo, for your work, because in these situations, I think about the concept of the sisterhood. That blaming keeps me smiling. Yeah. Sisterhood uber alles. Does not matter what your religion is, does not matter what your nationality is, does not matter what your age is. Sisterhood will always have a different sense of solidarity than guys do. And it's much easier to isolate and atomize men than it will ever be for women. Because remember, women's psyche, or the way women organize society is in the round, is in egalitarianism makes all kinds of sense to women. They don't know where the resources come from, so they just distribute them. As well, you've got a big pile of money, let's distribute it, right? It's and by the way, that's a proven fact. I got I think was it Steve Stewart Williams, or I have some research on how women, especially women in college, will want to ban. They essentially, like the long and the short of it is that they would rather ban free speech or like limit people's right to speech for their own security, right? Or they would rather have have somebody who is sort of who says the wrong things, not speak at a college or not speak at all, in favor of inclusiveness, diversity. Men, on the other hand, do not agree with that. They tend to be more rational. They tend to be more democratic about things like that. So, que onda, hombre de racional. Tengas un buen día. Okay, I will have a good day. Thank you. Even I can read that one. Thanks for giving me the words I need to hear as a young man. 5 years ago, I came across your iron rules. I had to break and build myself over the last 5 years. I was made to believe it was my duty to concede. Fuck that. Yes, good. Welcome, brother. Maybe you'd prefer calling it wisdom, but isn't the red pill kind of an emotional intelligence, self plus other plus sexual dynamics? No. It's not that intelligence is. I think a lot of people misconstrue emotional intelligence for an ability to read emotions. So it takes cognitive intelligence to read emotional states. So if you, like for instance, like autistic people, especially horribly autistic people, have a very tough time reading emotional states. They can't tell if you're happy or sad or whatever. Like if you give, like you can see my face right now, and if I'm like this, or if I'm emoting, or if I'm gesticulating with my hands or whatever, or if I'm my tone of voice, I might raise my voice, I might lower my voice, which I try to do, because I want to the show would suck if I just talk like this all the time, and that's all we're going to do. And it sounds like, text to voice. The fact is that you don't, an autistic guy, depending on his degree of autism, is unable to sort of read the emotional states of others. And they have to be, they have to learn, rather than getting it sort of instinctually and having, usually when we learn to read other people's emotional states, it's because we're seeing them face to face. It's because we're having that connection with that person. And we have done so for 200,000 years, right? We learn from the like a smile or crying or anger. There are certain physical manifestations of that might go along with the words, right? If you are lacking that, maybe from whether it's a biological reason or it's simply not having the learned ability to do so, that can be really tough, right? But it's still a separation of cognitive intelligence versus reading an emotional state. So when I talk about instinct, emotion, and reason, those are, I've talked about the differences of those in how men and women process information, but the sort of when you distill that whole concept down, you can call it the triune mind theory, whatever you want to call it. But like when you distill it down to instinct, emotion, and reason, instinct is something that it's kind of like built into our firmware. Like if I was like Kyle, if I was to throw something at Kyle over here, he'd instinctively duck out of the way. I don't have to say, okay, duck. You're gonna do that. Or if a fly gets in your face, you're gonna flinch and get the way. Even Andrew Wilson in that one video when he's talking about body count had the revulsion response. That's an instinctual response. If we see a dead carcass of a dead animal, we go, yeah, it smells like or feces, right? If we smell stuff, right, we want to get away from it. Why? Well, because the possibility of a pathogen is definitely probably present there. So you want to get away from that. And I didn't know this, but I actually looked this up. Women, ladies, I'm going to give you your flowers. Here's your props. Women have a better sense of smell, on average, have a better sense of smell than men. And I knew this because my wife can smell shit that I can never smell. Like my dogs smell it first, and then my wife smells it.
But Rolo, but men can also.
But men, and every woman's like, yeah, those men they're just so underdeveloped, and they're just so, but they're Neanderthals, and they're just stunted in their growth. They don't have the same kind of smell capacity that way. Nobody says that. I know, I love that. Yeah, how many people right now are going, well, men have a pretty good sense of smell too. No one thought that. But I'm giving you props. Like it's a biological fact. I've seen this. I went because I was curious because my wife, we can be in the backyard and she will smell weed. And it'll be like 6 houses down, man. I'm like, what the fuck? She's like, you don't smell that? Like she's like offended that I don't smell it. I don't smell it. I don't smell fucking weed, right? I mean, unless they're right next door and they're like, taking bong rips, I'm probably not going to smell it, right? But she can smell like it. Something burning? What the house? Like I'm thinking it's the house or something like that. And I have to remember, like, she's probably like picking up on something that might be outside, right? It drives me insane because there's this back to the point, there's this expectation that men should have the same like olfactory, capabilities as women. And we don't have the same heart. We just simply don't. We have the other features that, we make up for it. Maybe we have better hearing. Maybe we have more upper body strength, whatever. Okay, fine. But I will give women this. They have better sense of smell than men do. Why? Well, because they had to be able to smell pathogens to make sure that the baby was safe.
You could also smell the pheromones.
Pheromones.
Like they do the sweat tests.
Yes.
With girls.
Yes. You can smell, the stinky t-shirt test, right? Yeah. Women have a better sense of smell. There's any number of evolutionary sort of like rationales you can apply to that, right? Like if I went and said that and I go, yeah, well, it's probably because, women wanted to, like in our ancestral past, women had to be able to smell whether or not there was a snake in the the baby's area, or they had to be able to smell whether or not there's a pathogen somewhere, which makes sense. And the women like, oh yes, evolution, what a wonderful thing. And then you go, well, men are better at like spatial, we're better at rational tasks and STEM fields and stuff like that. You're a bigot. You're a sexist bigot. You're a misogynist. It's like what? For saying that there's actually, maybe some measurable differences between men and women? How dare you? Wait, there you go.
How dare you?
There you go. Let's see. What's this one? While Charlie Kirk is advocating is compromise your masculinity for the sake of the marriage, aka saving the West. Well, yeah, until he starts saying shit about like, oh, you can't, guys, you're insinuating, let's just say, guys, you're all addicted to video games, and it's your masculine Christian male responsibility to not play any video games until your wife is a woman of leisure. I have the clip. Would you like me to play the clip again? I'd be happy to. I'll take the blame for everything the moment women begin deferring to men's authority. Otherwise, if I have no control over women, they can fucks themselves. Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you too, Rational Trucker. You've been putting out a lot of good shit here. Can you tell us more about your Ignite or Reignite program you were talking about at Owen's thing? Sure. All right, I'll cover that, and then we'll get to the TFM video. So what is it? Reignite? Reignite is my program with I'm in partnership now with MOA, which is Men of Action. That's Michael Sartain's group. They're kind of like my staff, I guess. They're the ones that help me promote it. We have, like I said, we have a partnership with it. We share profits. So just so you know, I have a partner. My other partner is Joe Marin. Joe is a former Navy pilot. Is he a Navy pilot? I don't want to mess this up. Maybe he's Air Force.
No, I'm pretty sure he was Navy.
I think he was Navy. He used to fly fighter jets.
Yeah.
And he went through a really nasty divorce. And so I met him through MOA, and we decided that we wanted to do something that's a little more life-based, I guess. Maybe that's a better way to put it. My initial intent with Reignite was to cater to guys who are between the 45 to 65 demographic. But then I realized that I had so many other guys who were younger than that really wanted to be a part of it. And then I realized the reason that they wanted to be a part of it is because they are kind of like the Lost Boys generation. They're kind of like the failures to launch kind of guys. And I hate to say this, but like my nephew is accounted amongst a lot of those guys. And I really want to start working with my nephew. I might even bring him on this show at some point. But I realized this, and I said, there's also a definite need for guys who are just sort of, like I said, rudderless in life, and they're looking for purpose, not meaning they're looking for purpose, because they don't know what to do with themselves. And I hate it because it's like there's all this potential, and it's just dying on the vine, you know? And so when I listen or when I read like the Substack of Richard Reeves talking about, oh, these are the problems with men today. And I'm like, yeah, what are you going to do about it? Nothing. We're going to write another Substack about it. I'm like, fuck that. So my intent with Reignite is to, I mean, my most basic intent with Reignite is to do this face to face, to have groups of guys, to build a community. Because remember what I was saying before is that for the most part, a gynocentric social order does not fears, but it does not want men to tribalize. They don't want men to get together. They don't want men to build networks. So when the next Anthony Bourdain puts a noose around his neck, they're going to blame it on toxic masculinity narratives. They're going to blame it on the Xanax. They're going to blame it on, he didn't seek therapy. He should have. Why don't men reach out? Well, it must be the toxic masculinity that's preventing them from going and getting female therapy for male problems. I kept thinking about this, and I'm like, that's some bullshit. And so I built out the Reignite program. We have an eight module video course that I've got that I did. Joe Marin has his own videos as well. We have a really tight community of guys right now, and it's growing every day. If you are interested in it, the link. Thank you for putting the link up there, Sammy. Here, this is the link right there. Which, by the way, you can get the live link. It's right in the very. It's not the first one. Maybe it is the first one down. The link, the first 3 links in the description. You just click on the Reignite. You'll get the sort of the video sales pitch kind of thing. It's really just to tell you what the prices are and just like what we do and who we're sort of catering to. But I don't just do. It's not just for old guys. Like people say, "Oh, is this the old guys group?" No, it's for everybody right now. But it's to meet a specific set of needs. So if you have a particular problem that you want to address, like I was saying before, criticizing guys like Charlie Kirk and everything, saying, like guys need to become better men. I 100% agree with that. I just disagree with the impetus behind that. His impetus is men need to be better men because we need men to be better men for women. Fuck you. We need men to be better men for men. And when you say that, when that's your motivation and that's your prime directive, your mission statement, they get itchy under the collar, right? Good. That's the whole point for Reignite. I will definitely want these sons of bitches to get itchy under the collar, because what happens is once guys get empowered, once guys get on track, once guys build a better life, become the better version of themselves. I hate that term, but like become better. Once they become better, they become more selective. They can decide for themselves who they want to get with. And I'll tell you right now, that 34-year-old bitch that's like saying, "Oh, you need singles and Pringle." No. Like they can say. I think one of the reasons why, especially tradcons, but also wokesies, the reason why they fear male empowerment is because it implies selectivity. And you know what that means? That means they're not getting selected. As one of the guys in the super chats was saying, is once you get to that point, why would I want to get with these chicks? Because I'm not going to go serve the system that hates me, right? The fact that you would want to empower yourself is already a dangerous statement, but it's also, and then organize, but it also implies that it puts men in a position of agency where they can say yes or no to a woman. because the way that a gynocentric social order maintains power right now is it keeps men in the dark. That's why they hate the red pill. That's why they hate me. They've hated me for 20 years now. And Ryan and I, this is a running joke between me and Ryan Stone. The reason why they hate us so much is because we fuck up the program for them. So what they're looking for is they're looking for a guy who is patient and he's built himself up and he's taken you take an 18-year-old guy and an 18-year-old woman, right? The woman goes through her party years. She goes through her whole phase, whatever it is. She goes, or maybe she goes through college or whatever, and maybe that also, that includes the whole phase. 18 to 28, and that woman's prime agency is about 23. That guy's agency, his real empowerment doesn't come until he's 35, 36 years old, and he makes partner in a law firm. It takes longer for a man to mature into his peak potential than it does for women. Myron Gaines talks about this all the time. Women just are, and men must become. Okay, he took that out of my book, but the fact is, he compares it this way. He says, women are born with like a winning lottery ticket, and they get X millions amount of dollars at 23, and then they squander it all. And think of that as like their capital, sexual agency, and then little by little it decays, and until they can either make good investments with that sexual capital, or they squander the whole thing, right? And when you get to a point that you're 34 years old and you've squandered all of it, well, then you're going to say it's men's fault that they made bad decisions, and it's if men would be better, then women would be better too. No, you're still a broke bitch at 34 because you squandered your sexual capital. Now that guy is now on his ascension to being partner in a law firm. He's done everything the right way, did everything Charlie Kirk told him to do, right? He got to school. He made the most of himself. He went to college. I don't know, God, maybe it took like anywhere from 4 to 8 years to be whatever he's going to be, start his own business, is on his game, is on his grind, is becoming a high, for lack of a better term, high quality guy. And that guy is 34 to 36 to maybe even 38, somewhere in there. And that guy's finally hitting his stride. And then now you're going to tell him it's your fucking duty to marry this washed out bitch. Fuck you. No. And the problem they have with guys like me and guys in the red pill is because we tell them what the timeline is. We tell them the schedule. We tell them that they want that at 30 years old, when that woman says, wait for me, and if I haven't been married at 30, then we can get married, because you're going to be a much better prospect as a lawyer or a surgeon or a fucking business owner or whatever it is that you do, because it's going to take you a lot longer to get to that point of high quality than it takes for me right now. So I'm going to explore my options between 18 and 28 years old. And if you're still single right around 30, which, by the way, is the average age of first marriage for women, and 32 for men, surprise. If women can convince guys to stay blue pill and to stay ignorant and be a fucking dummy when they get to be 30, 32 years old, they hit the fucking jackpot. He doesn't know shit. He made the most of himself. The guy's he's set to be a fucking millionaire. And I know that by 34, I'm not getting, my biological clock is ticking. That's why they tell women your biological clock is ticking at 30. No, your biological clock, ladies, was ticking at 23. Not 30. So if you can keep, it's really that whole sort of gynocentric schedule that I lay that out, by the way. Where'd it go? I lay that out in, here you go. Here's the timeline. I laid this out in preventative medicine. You know, once women get to about right around that transition phase, the epiphany phase, by the way, is where it's like, I need to get right with God. I need to find a man that's good. I want to do things the right way. I'm going to make you wait, mister. That's right around the epiphany phase and the transition phase, right? That's where she goes from being, party years and hoe phase to being into, well, I'm going to do it right phase. And then she gets into the security phase, because that's when she's looking for long-term security, because her agency is decaying at that point. Now, think about where guys are. Here, let me show this one. Think about where guys are right around 36, 37 years old, and they're hitting their stride at this point. And you see where again, this is highly unscientific. I just did this for illustrative purposes, although this has been backed up by other data. But and maybe you started hitting your stride at 34. I don't know. But the fact of the matter is we're not on the same schedules for our peak potentials. That's really the long and the short of both of those illustrations. Men and women are not on the same fucking schedule. So if we live in a state of gynocentrism where we have a society by women for women, it serves their best interest if you have some really dumb motherfuckers who are like, 33 years old and don't know the fucking game, so that when Sally's ready to settle down at 30 years old, Jimmy at 32 is going, oh, hey, look, I hit pay dirt. Finally, my ship has come in. Sally really likes me. You've been here all my life. You're the one. Thanks for waiting for me, Jimmy. So me telling you this is very, very makes me a dangerous motherfucker, a dangerous man. That's why I'm on a DHS watch list, because I'll tell you this. And last one, here we go. Men and women are perfectly equal is the biggest lie in history of mankind. Yes. Also, the blank slate is the biggest lie of mankind. And you would be surprised how many ideological institutions are based on the premise that all men are created, and women are all created equal. We're just basically the same meat bags with the same potential, no differences, no biological things that make us different. Especially when the most recent thing that I've been harping on, you guys already know this, is, you can talk about the quote unquote Trans Am situation, but I'm not going to talk about that actually. The idea of intersectionality, which is, if you ever heard of like intersectional feminism, by the way, I took that course. But intersectionality is base. If you take away the blank slate, if you say the blank slate's bullshit, we've proven it false. So many institutions, so many like foundational parts of people's ideology just collapses on themselves. Take that away. If you say, well, men and women are just the same and we just have different plumbing or whatever. No, we think differently. We evolved along different lines as far as our psychological states are concerned. I can show you in no uncertain terms how women will respond to whether or not redistributing resources is better than, say, like capitalism. Women will tend to default to communitarianism. They organize societies off of communitarian egalitarianism is a utopia for women. That's why do we even think about like, oh, we're going to be in a partnership. She's my partner. Right? We're going to be in a 50-50 of marriages should be 50-50. That is a late 20th century concept that came into vogue right after the sexual revolution, because guys wanted to get laid without the worry of getting a girl pregnant, and women wanted to get laid without the worry of getting pregnant. So now we're all going to be 50-50, and we're going to identify men who had the power of the patriarchy before are now going to get in touch with their feminine side, and we're going to be more sensitive to women's needs. That's where the needs bullshit comes from. Well, you weren't meeting her needs. Well, why is she the primary? Why am I not the primary? She's not meeting my needs. I need a blowjob every other day. She wasn't meeting my needs. Your divorce papers. Why I always like, one of the reasons why, like, if you look at the tweet that I put on there, men do not owe women a better life. That rubs people. They can't even really put their finger on it. Like, well, of course we owe women a better life. Like, they can't even fathom. They can't think beyond that. But it's usually because of an ideological or a religious kind of perspective. I get that. But why are women the primary? Why is that the correct? The female experience defines what is correct about behavior, about what your motivations are supposed to be. Even in when I'm looking at all these data sets, right, that are supposed to in some way prove assortative mating. That might have been the case in the 20th century. That might have been the case prior or just after the sexual revolution. But again, it's all founded on one thing: pair bonding or marriage. People who are alike tend to marry alike. Why is that the goal? Why would marriage in any way be indicative of an evolved sexual strategy or an evolved sexual mating strategy? Because in if men's experience is the correct experience, then men should be spreading the seed. They should be like if you're a guy with like 100 notch count, you're the way more successful. We should be praising that guy because he's the kind of guy who can fuck 100 women. Why isn't that the way? Well, the reason for that is because women define the narrative. We have decided, and again, it's not just women. It's also sort of like in a post-agrarian society where we wanted to have stability, one man, one woman. We didn't want to have polygamy, setting the normative state. But that used to be the way it is. Hell, go read the Old Testament. Father Abraham got after it, man. Fucking A. He was a successful motherfucker too, man. I mean, the guy was on top of it. But we don't think in those terms anymore. We think in terms of female correctness. We think in terms of women's needs and women's sexual strategies, their mating strategies, which is based on what? Find the alpha fucks and beta bucks, man. And then when women run out of agency, they need long-term security. Women are the vulnerable sex. So a responsible good man, the guy who does his duty and builds himself up and creates this high quality, he creates himself as a high quality man for her. Like there has never been a more 21st century bullshit reasoning than become the best version of yourself so you're more marriageable. So you can it's because that's the goal state. And it's pervasive amongst everything in the sciences, the soft sciences, hell, even the hard sciences. Marriage is the litmus test. Why? Why is that the fucking litmus test? And the very fact that I would even ask that question is offensive to anyone in a gyne who's been raised in the last, post-sexual revolution societies in a gynocentric social order. That is offensive. That's why we got to shut this motherfucker down. All right. Anybody else? That's, I think, it. All right. So we're going to dig into this video, and I'll riff on it a little bit, but I really think that I like getting into it maybe every other year, I think. This is from Turd Flinging Monkey, who I actually kind of like. Very much old school TFM, very much an old school MGTOW. He'll probably email me after this too. But this was I think his seminal video, and it's all of like 15 minutes long, I think. And if you think that the conflict or the friction, let's just say, between the red pill and sort of the tradcon spaces is a new thing, think again. This is from 2016. And primarily the reason why he does this video is because it is PragerU trying once again, or certainly back then, trying to establish the idea that men being responsible is something that is required by morality, is required. Like it's male responsibility is the panacea to all the world's woes. And if there's a fucked up aspect of the world, if you think someone is degenerate, if you think some racial group is worse or better than another, if you think women are this way or that way, it's because men just aren't taking responsibility. Men have all the power, so therefore they're not taking responsibility and using that power responsibly. The problem is men do not have power. They do not have that authority, and has been removed from them. The teeth have been cut out for a very long time, but the responsibility is still there. So you probably have heard myself, or you've heard Myron Gaines talk about this, where it's like how women want their cake and they want to eat it too, right? They want to be able to have old order privileges. They want to still be treated like a lady. They still want you to pay for the date. They still want you to open the door for them. They still like the chivalry, whatever you want to call it. They still want that old, like, division of sex, division of labor, division of gender roles. They still want the romantic aspects of how men used to be with women. They want men to have the responsibility, or they want men to protect them by default. That's part of that. They want those old rules, those old order sensibilities, but they also want new order privileges, meaning We want you to be our equals. We want you to be sensitive to our needs. We want to be able to enforce a gynocentric social order by women, for women, with empowerment for women, with special dispensation for women, with also you and you accepting this as being you're better, you're stronger, you're faster, you're taller, you're richer, you're better looking, you have more status, whatever, but you're still my equal. You want to talk about equalitarianism or egalitarianism? There's no better form of cognitive dissonance than expecting a man to adhere to old order responsibilities, to adhere to old order qualities, and then say I'm your equal. And the say I'm your equal, accept my bullshit reality, accept my reality. I reject your reality and I replace it with my own. There's never, you want to know where that social sort of fabric gets woven together. It's right in that concept. It's in the concept of men being responsible for old order responsibilities, old duty, honor, integrity, respectability, strength. Let's throw out how many esoteric terms can we like strength. You've got to be on top of your game. You got to be intellectual. You've got to be funny. You've got all this laundry list of things that women expect, but all those prerequisites are old order qualities that women still, they even dyed in the wool feminists can't explain why they want. They say, I don't know why I fall in love with guys who are like these, traditional conservatives, and because you still want the qualities that you associate with traditional conservatism, which whether it's real or not is immaterial. But conventional masculinity is something that women have an innate desire for. It's an evolutionary, like, firmware need for women to have that, to have a guy who's taller, with bigger, broader, I feel like he can protect me. Broader shoulders, V-taper, six-pack abs, making more like Christian Grey, right? They want the guy who is impossibly rich, impossibly jacked, who only like it's the Twilight narrative, It's like
they want Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, they want Bruce Wayne. They want what's it? Team Jacob versus Team
Edward?
Edward, yes. That was it. Love me vampire, fuck me werewolf. That's that. By the way, that's alpha fucks and beta bucks. They want to fuck Jacob is the werewolf, right? They want to fuck. I don't even know. They want to fuck the werewolf. The werewolf kid's got fucking. You could see the separation in his pecs, man. The werewolf. They want to fuck the werewolf, but they want the vampire to love them, right? That's the sort of the contradiction between them. And again, it's characterization. It's art reflects life, right? So in that characterization right there, that you want alpha fucks beta bucks, just go watch Twilight. That's it. But they want that old order, that old order, responsible conventional masculinity, while having all this new order privileges to be able to set the game themselves, right? So women have the authority, men have the responsibility. And whether or not that is necessary, because guys will fight me on this. Well, you have the authority. You just have to take it. Yeah. Try that in divorce court. Try that when she's reporting you for like domestic charges that you didn't even, you snatched the keys from her because she's drunk and you don't want her to take the car. I had that happen. I knew a guy that was, he was in an altercation with his wife, and his wife was an alcoholic, and she was going to take the keys and go drive off because they had some sort of like, he was sober, she was not. He snatched the keys from her. And then she called the cops, and she said, did you snatch the keys? Yeah, I did. Okay. He's going to jail, or he's going to go sit at his parents' place while she sobers up. And meanwhile, so what happens? They split. She's still an alcoholic with his kids in the rented place that he's renting, and he's living with his parents, just from snatching the keys.
My God.
But I have authority. No, you don't. You have, what is it? You can't alpha the state. Here's the funny thing is, like, if you listen to people like, especially the more moralistic posters on YouTube or on Twitter, or even like the talking heads like Candace Owens and stuff like that, the cure to everything is men taking more responsibility. Oh, women will be better. They wouldn't do OnlyFans if guys weren't jerking off to OnlyFans. So therefore, once you stop jerking, then they'll stop doing it. No, they're not. Simply not. It's ludicrous to think that that's going to happen that way. And the other thing is this: why are you not saying, "Bitch, stop OnlyFans"? Why is that not the directive? Because that's an unflattering fact of female nature. You're making money off your sexuality and you get an attention for it. Like, even Candace Owens, public figure Candace Owens, can relate with that. She's not doing OnlyFans, but she can relate with the need for attention. I'll tell you that. Bring on Aaron Clary. Already had Aaron Clary, dude. Where have you been? He was on like 2 weeks ago?
2 or 3.
Yeah, I had Aaron on 2 weeks ago, and I had Ryan on the week before last week. Please pay attention. Do you think DEI and open borders policies are downstream effect of women's misguided altruism? Yes. Honestly, if there's any kind of policy that has to do with anything that is like open borders, there's never been a more feminine way of like thinking than open borders. I will say this though. The reason why it's a double whammy. The reason why the whole DEI thing and open borders thing is even something that we're discussing today is because 1, globalization. 2, we're also globalizing, like critically globalizing right now after 60 plus years of a gynocentric social order. That's why it seems like a good idea to have more, to open it. We could just have one big Europe. We can have a North American combine. Canada's only the 51st state anyway, so why do we have open borders there and open borders here, and we all be one big fat family? The problem is there's one thing that women do not understand that men do: tribalism. And human beings are tribalistic, okay? Tribalistic. And that is a feature, not a bug, of humanity. It is hard, it's baked into us. And there's nothing wrong with it. Men need tribes. There's different forms of tribes. It doesn't have to be your nationality. I'm friends with a lot of people who aren't my race or not my nationality. Hell, you're Mexican. Like, we hang out. I love him like a brother. You know? But that's not, that's not, we have a tribe. This is our tribe. Me, a tribe of 2 right now. The podcast is a tribe. Your brother, Charlie, and me, and you. Yeah. Ebony. No, I mean, I fresh and fit. I mean, God knows how many people. Big Mo is like, I love him. I love you, Big Mo. I love you. He's like one of my best fucking friends.
Tell these bitches to go to hell.
See, that's why I love Big Mo. I love Big Mo. I give him a kiss on his bald head every time I see him, right? And he's part of my tribe. When I'm there, he's part of my tribe. If he was here right now, he'd be part of my tribe. When I go to the gym, the people that I work out with and the people I see, they're my tribe for as long as I'm at the gym. The guys in my band, Jake, Ricky, Connor, you're my band tribe, right? So tribalism is a feature of the human condition, not a bug. But women don't understand that. Like, okay, so that's me on the local level. Now take that to the national level and the racial level and to the, the country, international, nationality level. And then things get complicated. So yeah, I agree. So I'm going to show you this video. I think we might just want to just jump right into it here real fast. But this is Turd Flinging Monkey, and he's responding to PragerU. He had some pretty classic fights with Dennis Prager back in the day. Yeah, just fucking chill the fuck out. I'll get to that. What, you don't want another Bonnie Blue video? I'm going to fuck 800 guys. I'm going to fuck 1,000. All right, here we go. This, I don't think I have ever seen a better example of the responsibility without authority being slavery. In fact, this is actually where that saying comes from, as far as I know. So let's just get into it. I'm going to riff on this a little bit, but I'm going to let him cook for a bit.
Hey everyone, this is Turd Flinging Monkey, and today we have
We have something special. We're visiting our old friend Dennis Prager at PragerU.
How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man?
I love the young people.
All right, well, let's get started.
Rape, murder, war. They all have one thing in common. Men. Aggression, violence, ambition unchecked by conscience, all the stuff of toxic masculinity, right? And the solution is obvious. Make men less toxic. Make men less masculine. Make men more like women. But I'm here to tell you that that way of thinking is not only wrong, it's dangerous.
All right, so far so good. I honestly don't disagree with anything she just said. I've talked about the same problem myself. Maybe PragerU's turning over a new leaf. Maybe they've recognized the importance of male authority, patriarchy, ready to take women's rights away. Maybe the traditionalists are waking up and they're going to be part of the solution and not part of the problem. Let's continue.
Here's why. When you try to make men more like women, you don't get less toxic masculinity. You get more. Why? Because bad men don't become good when they stop being men. They become good when they stop being bad. Aggression, violence, and unbridled ambition can't be eliminated from the male psyche. They can only be harnessed. And when they are harnessed, they are tools for good, not for harm. The same masculine traits that bring destruction also defeat tyranny. The traits that foster greed also build economies. The traits that drive men to take foolish risks also drive men to take heroic risks.
Wow, so I'm actually really impressed. I don't disagree with anything that's being said. But I have a feeling, that there's a but coming. But let's continue.
The answer to toxic masculinity isn't less masculinity. It's better masculinity. And we know what that looks like. It's a young man opening the door for a girl on their first date. It's a father working long hours to provide for his family. It's a soldier risking his life to defend his country.
Okay, so the answer to toxic masculinity is men taking responsibility, right? And I'm fine with that. Look, I've talked about someone has to be responsible. The problem is if you're going to make men responsible for women, for families, for society, there has to be authority attached to that responsibility. This is where the traditionalists really just trip. This is where they just completely screw up. The problem is, in order to have a functional system, and we all agree, men are responsible for women, they are responsible for society, they are responsible for families. That's what a functional society looks like. But you can't then say men and women are equal, take men's authority away, give it to women, say that men and women are partners, but men continue to need to be responsible for women. That doesn't make any sense. You have to have responsibility and authority together, or it doesn't work. So all this talk about good men, good masculinity. Okay, you want men to be responsible. Are you going to give them authority? If you want men to be responsible for women, if you want men to hold open doors, fight in wars, save babies from burning buildings, there has to be something attached to that. Men aren't just selfless, servile robots that just die at your whim because it feels good. If you want them to be responsible, you have to give them authority. If you take their authority away, men are going to walk away because there's nothing in it for them. You've taken the carrot away. All you have is the stick. And eventually you keep hitting a dog with a stick, he's going to fucking snap at you.
The growing problem in today's society isn't that men are too masculine. It's that they're not masculine enough. When men embrace their masculinity in a way that is healthy and productive, they are leaders, warriors, and heroes.
Okay, so I agree with this part, but where's the authority? So this is what's interesting. She admits that men who embrace their masculinity are leaders. Being a leader implies authority because you're leading people. People are following you. You have authority over the people that you're responsible for. So it's like, this is what I don't get about traditionalists. They know that men have to have authority. They know it. They know it. I know you agree with me. I know in your heart of hearts, you agree with me. The problem is you can't say it because of my elections, my female voters, and all this other crap. But you know it's true. You know men have to have authority over women, over families, and over society. Call it traditional family values, call it the nuclear family, call it whatever the hell you want. It's called patriarchy. Without patriarchy, traditionalism doesn't work. Without male authority, male responsibility doesn't work. You have to have both. And she...
All right, hang on one second. Let me chime in here a little bit. There we go. So, up to this point, pretty much everything I've been saying, really. But the thing about patriarchy, the thing about authority, like as I was saying, when I said men do not owe women a better life, right? So if that's the case, if you're going to say no, men do owe women a better life, okay, are you willing to take women's rights away? Are you willing to, I hate to go repeal the 19th because I don't think that that's tenable right now. I think it's kind of a dead end argument. But let's just say for sake of arguments here, are you willing to take women's rights away? Because essentially what you're saying is if you want to say, and again, I hope this can be the last fucking word on all of this. It won't be, but I hope it can. So whenever I have to deal, or whenever if you have to, you're involved in this, whenever you have to deal with traditional, especially trad females, right? It's not even so much men. Men will just get on, will jump on the horse because the women are, they want to say, yeah, well, they're basically white knighting for trad femmes. But when women come out and say, well, women will be better. What about the men? What about the guys? What was it? The Lily Phillips thing? Like when they thought that Lily Phillips was going to have some sort of like religious conversion because she was crying in that documentary about having, about going through with 24 hours of fucking 100 guys, right? And, people kind of jumped on her case saying, oh, what a degenerate, what a 304, what a whatever. But when she started like crying a little bit and showing a little bit of compassion or whatever, that's when women said, what about those guys? There's 100 of those guys. It's their fault. It's the guys who are rubbing it out on OnlyFans. That's their fault. They drove her to this. And there's no accountability. Like, you can't hold a woman. If men are responsible for the sins of women, then you cannot hold them accountable. So all these accountability shows, all this shit on whatever podcast, Fresh and Fit, my podcast, whoever you think is a Kevin Samuels, he holds these bitches accountable, right? He tells them like it is, right? Well, you're average at best, right? That was holding them accountable back in 2022. And it's not, it's you craving comeuppance. It's you craving somebody. It's men living vicariously through Kevin Samuels saying the things they wish they could to these women. That's really what it comes down to. It's not really an accountability. But I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. Okay. Let's just say it is accountability. Why do it at all? Because women cannot be held accountable. If it's my fault that women act the way they do because I'm a man and she's a woman, if it's my fault for that, then holding her accountable is pointless because she's sinless. Her sins are my sins. Because if I drove her to those behaviors as a man, and I said, you know what, I'm going to invent this thing called OnlyFans so I can rub it out and these chicks can go and become multi-gajillionaires in the process. Oh, and then I'm going to take that money too, right? Then what's the point of anything? What's the point of the shows? What's the point of any of this shit? If women cannot be, if we are our sisters' keepers, then why even use the word accountability? And I'll tell you why, because nobody believes that bullshit. That's why. If you, the other tenet, I should say, of traditional conservatism is personal responsibility. What is it? Is it her responsibility or is it my responsibility? Free will. Okay. Do women have free will? Do they have real agency? Or is my will her will? Does anything, and again, does it have to be sexual? What if she kills somebody? What if she commits a crime? Is it I'm sorry, Your Honor, I couldn't stop her from, a DUI manslaughter. I just couldn't do it. Sorry, put me in jail. Is that gonna be the thing? Is that what we base our judicial system on? Now, granted, women get far more lenient sentences than men, so we've already got that factored in. But the thing is if that's the case, then all this shit is moot. all this, and the thing, it's only in the sexual. It's only when, like, we wouldn't say the same thing of any other crime. We wouldn't say the same thing. Like, well, how about this? What, it doesn't have to be a crime. What if I say, well, my wife started her own business and she's now a multimillionaire, but she's not, because I'm the one that has her agency and her best intentions in mind. And so any success, accountability can be failure and success. So she's accountable for the success of turning, like a profit on a little company into a multi-million-dollar company. But guess what? Because I'm the husband and I'm responsible for her, guess what? I'm the one that actually created that. How's that? How would you like that? If I took the credit for her becoming a multimillionaire because she has no agency. And so therefore her successes aren't her successes, they're my successes, because I was a good enough, more responsible man, and I'm the one that put her up to it. So do I get the credit for that? Fuck no, I don't get the credit for that. Because she did it herself. She took it upon herself to go and do that stuff. Her successes are hers. Unless it's a fucking sexually degenerate chick, and then it's men's fault. Then we want guys to be better. And if guys aren't measuring up to this chick who's 34 years old, who is single as a Pringle, wants men to be more intentional, more emotionally intelligent, and to get out there and ask her out on a date or something like that, or to be purpose driven or something, then we have this accountability discussion. Then when it becomes a woman's problem, it becomes men solving women's problems. And the presumption is that men owe women a better life. When that's the premise that we're actually debating, or we're debating accountability about, then suddenly it's men's fault. Any other situation, anytime you can contextualize that in some other way, especially in success, if I'm going to say I'm responsible for her success, yeah, because I'm the man. She can't make her own decisions. So fuck you. I'm the one that made the millions and not her. It was awesome, man. I guess I'm just married the right chick and I'm a good influence on her. Do I get the millions? Am I responsible for it? Should I go get the fucking trophy at the award show for it? No, nobody in their fucking right mind is going to say that. But when it comes to getting your dick wet, then shit changes. So let's just cut the bullshit about agency and responsibility and all this other crap. It used to be that way. Like, women would say, well, we could never own property. We were just chattel. No, under coverture laws, women could actually own property. They could inherit businesses. They could inherit land. They could actually start their own fucking businesses if they wanted to. The thing is under coverture laws, if a woman married a man, all of those businesses now became the purview of the man, of the husband. Why? Because those coverture laws implied that the man was, in fact, responsible for the actions of the woman. So if that woman commits a crime, or makes the company go bankrupt, or is responsible for, selling the land or something like that, it's not her, it's him, because he's the husband, and that's how it worked. Women under the old ways, under the coverture laws, had more freedom and had more ability to maneuver and had more agency and more power outside of marriage than they did inside of marriage. Now we've flipped that script. Men today have more maneuverability, more power, more agency, more ability to control their lives, more decision-making ability in their lives outside of marriage than inside of marriage. And if you want guys to get married, change the fucking laws, change the way we do marriage. I was going to do a show with him too. I really want to get Jim Sexton in here, but Jim called me up last week and he told me about this situation with a prenup, right? Because he's really big about prenuptial, arrangements. So what was, I'll just give you the loose, quick version of this is he had a guy who was worth about $10 million in finance. I don't know, about 6 foot trust fund, whatever, but in finance, and was poor. He's standing to make 30 million next year, right? I mean, the guy's on his game when it comes to money, but when it comes to chicks, you know what the fuck he's doing. So the guy's in his mid 30s, as I said, and that's when you hit your stride, right? And he's involved with this 25-year-old chick who is like stunningly fucking hot, man. And he's like, I think I want to marry this chick, but I need her to sign a prenup so that my money is sort of protected, yada, yada. It's what any wise guy would do, right? Okay, she was even cool with it. The 25-year-old girl was okay with the prenup, but she had to present the prenup to a lawyer, to her lawyer. And what her lawyer does is now he rewrites the prenup to favor her. And so now women, when they're presented with a prenup, or even the prospects of a prenup, they're now like a hot girl who has like money from OnlyFans or whatever else. She's saying, "Oh yeah, I kind of want to marry this guy. He's worth $10 million. He's probably going to be worth $30 million pretty soon. I'm okay with the prenup as long as it favors me." And so what happened is he was showing me the stuff, like the list of the laundry list of things the guy can get dinged for, like $15,000 for a blowjob. And I mean, they went down to the really nitty gritty details of this. And so essentially, if the guy ever cheats or if there's a dissolution of the marriage, he's got to pay her. It's a divorce settlement that's already written into the prenup that favors her, and probably would favor her more so if she got divorced if she had to go to litigation for divorce litigation. So essentially all the prenup is it's a divorce settlement that's already preset for the guy if the guy fucks up, not her. And I'm just like, that is some fucking top tier fucking espionage, man, on the part of women. But that's where we're at. And so when people say, "Rollo, you're so against marriage," I'm not against the institution of marriage. I keep saying I've been married for 28 years. Clearly, I'm not against marriage, but I'm against the way we do it now. You know what I'm against fucking writing prenups as if they're like preemptive divorce settlements. That's what I'm against. I'm against this idea I'm even against the idea of claiming responsibility for my wife's successes. Okay. That whole thing but I also think that if it's, I've said before, I'm not against women's having the right to vote. I want my daughter to have the right to vote. I want my wife to have the right to vote. I think they should. I think they're intelligent enough to make good decisions. And maybe I'm influencing that. Maybe I'm helping them along, and maybe I'm not. Maybe they're just simply smart enough to figure shit out on their own. Okay, fine. You're not going to take the vote away from them, but you know what I want? I want them to take a responsibility like a fucking adult, take responsibility for their own actions. So I'm okay with women having agency. I want them to have agency. It's great. Fine. Go do whatever you do. You. I want women to have the same level of the same standard of justice that men have. I don't want women to get more lenient sentences for the same fucking crimes if a man committed it than a woman committed it. That is a separate standard of justice. I want women to be able to vote. Great. But I also want them to take accountability for the shit that comes down for the votes that they put in. They don't want, because then what happens? The narrative switches and says, "Well, if men were better, then women would be better." Fuck you. If you're going to give them that agency, if they are independent, sentient human beings, then guess what? You're not your sister's fucking keeper. And they have to take that responsibility and they have to take that accountability, because I'll tell you right now, the way that it stands and the way that Turflinging Monkey is talking right here is men don't have any authority to enforce the responsibilities that conventional masculinity puts on them. That's what he's going to talk about here in a second. Let's go back in.
He's admitting this right here by calling men leaders. I agree. Men who take responsibility are leaders. But imagine trying to be a leader without authority. The hell does that even look like? It's like if you take authority away from parents, they can't raise their kids. Why? Because you require authority to be a leader, to be a parent. When you're put into a position of responsibility, you need authority over that which you are responsible for. It is that simple and fundamental. You simply cannot separate authority from responsibility.
When they deny their...
Okay, hold on one second. I have one thing I wanted to add that I sort of make this a little more complete. When we're talking about leadership, well, you need to be leaders and warriors and bastions of enterprise. If you want men to step up and be leaders, that implies hierarchy. Women organize society in the round. Men organize society in strata, in hierarchies. Okay, there's the CEO, the CFO, the COO, and then on down to the janitor. Right, chain of command. Right, there's the admiral and the general and the lieutenant, and I'm going to butcher this all the way down to the private. Right, that is authority. If you want men to be responsible and you want them to be leaders and you want all this other stuff, you have to, by necessity, accept a hierarchical way of organizing society. That's how it works. If that's the case, if you want, we need men to be leaders, that's bullshit. They don't want them to be leaders. You know why I know that? Because they won't let men organize so that they could do that in the first place. Because when men organize, they organize in hierarchies. That's just natural, a natural way of, that's just how men are, right? We organize in team captains. We organize in CEOs, CFOs. But that's how we do it. So if you want male leadership, you're going to have to accept a hierarchy in a marriage. There is God, and then there's the man, and then there's the woman, and then there's the children, and then there's the dogs. And it goes in that order. If you're going to rearrange any of that, you're no longer asking that man to be a leader. So there you go.
Masculinity, they run away from responsibilities, leaving destruction and despair in their wake.
Men aren't the ones who stripped their authority away. Feminism did. And who's going to restore it? Nobody's talking. Like, I'm the only one on this hill talking about taking women's rights away and restoring male authority. No one is talking about this. That is the problem. The only answer from the right is that men need to take responsibility. And when men say, well, why should I take responsibility if I don't have authority? They just say, stop being toxic. Stop being a misogynist. You have to take responsibility. It's what men do. Fuck you. Very simple thought experiment. If you own a business, you are the sole proprietor of that business. You will work 60, 80, 100-hour weeks in order to make sure that business succeeds because it's your business. Now, if you were simply an employee of that business and your boss asked you to work a 60, 80, 100-hour week for no additional pay because you really needed the help, you tell him to go fuck himself. And why? Because it's not your business. You don't own it. You don't have the authority over the business. You don't own the profits of the business. He does. So he can do the long hours. It's his business. So you took authority away from men in the name of gender equality. Now women are on all kinds of antidepressants. The fertility rate is dog shit. The West is being flooded with immigrants from Africa and the Middle East, and they're raping kids and running people over with trucks apiece. What are you going to do about it? Well, come on, man. Can you work these 60, 80, 100-hour weeks? Oh, we could really use the help over here. Well, are you going to give me authority over this business that you want me to help out? Well, no, we're not going to give you authority. That wouldn't be fair. But can you just contribute vastly more?
Hell no. Come on, wait till the no.
Okay, I gotta scrub through here because this will give me a copyright strike. There we go.
If you want men to take charge, if you want men to be leaders, if you want men to be responsible, give up your fucking rights. Submit to the patriarchy. It's that simple. If you're not willing to submit, then fuck you. I'm not going to take care of your dumb ass. You want to be equal? Go be equal. Go take care of your own shit. Oh, you can't? Oh, you need men to take care of you? Well, then submit. Bow down. No? Then fuck you. You see how this works? Are you going to be part of the solution? You're going to be part of the problem. If all you have is shame and bullshit, go fuck yourself.
The consequences can be seen everywhere. 1 in 4 fathers now lives apart from his children. And children who grew up without a dad are generally more depressed than their peers who have a mother and a father. They are at far greater risk for incarceration, teen pregnancy, and poverty. 71% of high school dropouts are fatherless.
That's not the fault of men rejecting their responsibilities. That's 100% the fault of feminism. Who created the family courts? Who created the Duluth model? Irresponsible men rejecting their manly responsibilities? No, fuck that shit. Women did this. Feminism did this. Shaming men into taking responsibility when nothing is being done about the actual cause is absolute bullshit. Look, there's a disease. There's a disease called female empowerment. It is killing the West. It isn't just killing America and in the UK. It's killing Western civilization as a whole. Female empowerment is fucking cancer. Putting the burden of responsibility onto men is complete bullshit. Because once women were given voting rights, they became the majority of voters. Women outlive men. Women don't go to war and die. They work cushy jobs and they don't die on the work site. There's always going to be more women than men in any sort of healthy society. Throw in wars and so forth, then you have vastly more women than men. I can't think of a natural situation where men would outnumber women except the one-child policy in China, where parents deliberately drowned their daughters because they could only have one child, so they wanted a son that would take care of them in old age. Aside from those artificial constraints, there's going to be more women than men in almost any society. Now, once you appreciate that fact, you appreciate the fact that we have universal suffrage in a democratic society, women run the government. So how are men supposed to fix anything? The men's rights activists have been trying to fix the laws for 100 years. They haven't gotten shit changed. The laws have only gotten worse. They're getting worse by the year. Every year. Feminists demand more laws that empower women at men's expense. And what does the right do? What is the right doing to stop this? Nothing. Nothing. You're just blaming men, telling them they need to take responsibility. You're not doing anything to actually solve the real problem, which is female empowerment. You can't fix this problem by convincing men to just suck it up and walk proudly into the slaughterhouse. Men are waking up. This is complete bullshit. So either fix the problem or Allahu Akbar, prepare for the collapse. You're going to lose your rights either way. Either Western men are going to take your rights away or Muhammad will. One of them's going to do it.
Of all...
Okay, let me chime in here right quick. One of the things that I notice language quite a bit. So like when, and remember this is PragerU. They've been around for a while, and they've been sort of like the TradCon, like McDonald's for a long time. By the way, I see what you did here. This video is bringing me back to actually this video is from 2015. Just it goes back even further than that. So that's how long Turd Flinging Monkey has been like at this shit. So but no, I was going to say is I'll let him cook. Don't worry. But I was going to say is if you notice the wording there, fatherlessness. It's not single momminess. It's not like single mother, single parents. It's fatherlessness. And PragerU is not the only one that does this. I think what's funny is like for all of this emphasis on gender neutral language, like we will literally go and rewrite bylaws and constitutions and state legislature and like state constitution. They will go and rewrite political, documents to be, it's not fireman, it's firefighter, right? It's not mailman, it's mail carrier, right? Or it's like they try to make it the whole thing gender neutral until we get to this, and then it's fatherlessness, right? No, it's not. How about single family? If you wanted to make it neutral, it would be single parent home. It's not, and sure as shit, never going to be single mother homes. That's never going to happen. So it's important to understand the language, even with people who you think you should agree with. Like if traditional conservative moralism, whatever you want to fucking call it, if that's your tribe, if that's what you identify with, you still owe it to yourself to watch and police the shit that these guys are doing. So let me what's this? No, it's okay. You don't have to. I'm not on Rumble right now. Is that what you were trying to do? YouTube will not let you buy a chat with Rumble 3 spelled correctly. Yeah, well, fine. I'm not on Rumble right now. Anyways, I'm only on YouTube. What if it's my show? I'm only going to be on YouTube usually. I mean, sometimes I mirror to Rumble. Let me let him finish.
The rocks upon which we build our lives, family is the most important. And we are called to recognize and honor how critical every father is to that foundation. That was said by then Senator Barack Obama in 2008. If we are honest with ourselves, he went on, we'll admit that too many fathers are missing from too many lives and too many homes. As much as we try to deny the need for real masculine strength in society, there's no denying its necessity. Healthy families and strong communities depend on the leadership and bravery of good men.
Again, leadership. Okay, you want men to be leaders. Great. If you want them to be leaders, you have to follow them. You have to give them authority. You have to submit to them. This is not rocket science.
Yet, the current trend is to feminize young men in the hopes of achieving some utopian notion of equality and peace. And it starts at the earliest ages. In the school classroom, boys are invariably the problem. On the playground, aggressive games like dodgeball have long been banished. We tell young men that their intrinsic desire to compete is wrong. Everybody gets a trophy. Don't run up the score. This anti-male tilt continues on through higher education and into the workplace. It has created millions of tentative men, unhappy women, and confused boys and girls. Here's a secret that every woman knows. Women want real men. Men they can count on and, yes, look up to.
Women want real men they can count on and look up to. So you want men to take care of you. Again, if women want men to be responsible for them, men have to have authority over women. If you want men to be responsible for families, then fathers need to have authority over their families. This isn't rocket science. I know I'm beating this dead horse, but she's saying right here, women want real men that they can count on and look up to. You don't look up to someone you're equal to. Yep. If you need a man to look up to, then you're admitting that you're beneath him. And if you're going to look up to him and you're going to count on him and he's going to be responsible for you, you goddamn better submit to him and give him authority over you. And what does that look like? You got to take away the family courts. You got to take away all this bullshit laws. Take women's right to vote away. All this fucking shit has to go.
No amount of feminist theory will change that. I don't know any woman at any age who is attracted to a passive man who looks to her to be his provider, protector, and leader. Every woman I know wants a strong, responsible man.
Every woman of every age wants a man to lead her. They want a man to be responsible for her. Great. Give up your rights. Starting with your right to vote. Give them up. All of it. We're rolling it all back. It's all gotta go. It's fucking Toys R Us up in this bitch. Everything must go. Give up all your rights, submit to the patriarchy, and then men will lead you. Oh, what's that? Oh, you want to keep your rights? Well, then fuck you. It's that simple.
That's not a consequence of a social construct or cultural pressure. It's innate. The devaluation of
I think it's fascinating that they're gonna, like, PragerU is gonna say it's innate, it's evolutionary, or is it? I love how fluidly the more religious moralists, well, certainly at PragerU, right, kind of fluctuate between like evolutionary psychology and their religious beliefs. And if it locks in with a religious belief, then they're all good with the things being innate, right? But if it doesn't, then we got a real problem there. So now we can just fall back on the evolution is bullshit, right? So just throwing that out.
Masculinity won't end well because feminine passive men don't stop evil. Passive men don't defend, protect, or provide. Passive men don't lead. Passive men don't do the things we have always needed men to do for society to thrive. In his book, The Abolition of Man, English social philosopher C.S. Lewis writes about this problem.
Of course.
He describes the tension between cerebral man and visceral man. By his intellect, Lewis explains, man is mere spirit, and by his appetite, mere animal. We need both. Take away one, and you're left with a man who's either weak or wicked. And in a world of wickedness, weak men are nothing more than enablers of wicked men. Rape, murder, war. They all have two things in common. Bad men who do the raping, murdering, and warring, and weak men who won't stop them. We need good men who will. It's not masculinity that's toxic, it's the lack of it. I'm Allie Stuckey for Prager University.
And I'm Turd Flinging Monkey. For the love of God, take women's rights away. And for all you trad cucks out there, both male and female, are you going to be part of the solution or are you going to be part of the problem? Stop shaming men into taking responsibility for that which they have no authority over. And women, submit to the fucking patriarchy. You want men to lead you? Bow down and kneel to your king. Or, fuck you. We don't care. We don't need you. You need us. You want to see this bullshit burned to the ground? Fine. Keep doing what you're doing. Fuck.
Left her. His delivery is so fucking is definitely a characteristic of the guy. But yeah, I was going to say, now I want to let just, you guys have heard me say this before in the past, is I've come back to this video several times. I think it's probably pertinent now to come back to it because what I see happening in 2025, people have asked me, hey, Rolla, you made predictions for 2024. What do you think is going to happen in 2025? Okay. First off, I'm going to say we're going to come full circle and MGTOW and Black Pill Doomers. By the time we get to August of this year, we're going to have a new crop of MGTOW Doomer Black Pill guys, right? Because it always happens right after an election cycle. In addition to that, you're going to see, I think, a lot more trad cucks. I think you're going to see a lot more moralistic, because it's simply not going to die out, right? But in the meantime, in the more immediate future, like January, February, March, April, probably for the next 4 months, you're going to have this. People are going to come back at the red pill with full force. And I'm just going to remind you guys of this, especially for the moralists out there who want to give the red pill and the manosphere like shit. You were the same people who hit up the manosphere and said, get out there and vote. Literally the same people, like Isabella Moody and Isabella DeLuca and all of the Ashley Sinclair, especially I think it was Ashley Sinclair. She made this appeal on November 5th on election night. Okay, guys in the manosphere, go out there and get to the polls, right? Like, we do not owe you a better life, and we fucking don't owe you a presidency. But the thing is we were going to do it anyways. And now in January, you're going to come back and you're going to fucking and try to run us up the flagpole again. Now the red pill is the enemy, whereas before we were your saviors. You must be real desperate to ask for our help, right? Which we were going to do anyways, which is stupid. But now you do not see the hypocrisy in this. Do you not see the fucking duplicity in your actions and your intents here? So when guys are coming after you now, of course, well, we're talking about those red pill guys and fucking body count and those guys in accountability, and it's because of men's fault. And every time I see, and it'll happen again. Every time I see an example of, like, say, what's her name, Nala Fit, right? Oh, she became a good God-fearing Christian. It's all men's fault that she was a slut to begin with, but that's good. Jesus saves, right? And then you've got Lily Phillips. Right. Oh, it's once we get past the tears and everything, it's men's fault for those tears. Right. And that's going to be another example. I'm sure there'll be something coming up pretty soon. The fact of the matter is like, it does, like, if you believe, like, ladies, I'll throw this out here. I would just reiterate what Turtling Monkey said in 2015. If you think that if the world will be a better place, if men would be better than women will be better, if you honestly, Charlie Kirk and the rest of you guys, if you think that men just need to take more responsibility, and if they take more responsibility and if they would just get their shit together, they would be better husbands I'll give it to you, right? You want better husbands? Okay, great. Here's what you have to do, Charlie Kirk. You have to petition for women to give their rights back. That's what you have to do. Because if you're going to tell me I can't sit here and play fucking Space Marine 2 until my wife is a woman of leisure, until she has no fucking material want in the fucking universe, until she is complete, all her needs are met, and I can do nothing else for myself except for live for every breath she fucking takes, okay, because it's biblical or however you fucking rationalize it, I don't give a flying fuck, then the only way that I can do that is if I have authority over her in the first place. Do I or do I not? Because right now you're really kind of discussing the sort of this watered down half measure patriarchy. And that's what it boils down to. And you've heard me say this before, is that patriarchy is a more balanced system than feminism. It's a more balanced system than gynocentrism for sure, right? Because why? Because in its most idealized form, patriarchy is a more balanced system. It's an innate, natural way of organizing society. Because under ideal, I'm saying it's perfect, okay? There's lots of room for exploitation, but let's just say under an ideal patriarchy, men have responsibility. They are taught from a very early age to accept that responsibility. They are also taught that they are responsible for their children, for their wives, for their dogs, for their business, for other people in their tribe, people in their, who work for them, whatever it is. You're responsible for them. Great. But you also have to have authority. Patriarchy, in an idealized sense, was responsibility with authority. with the authority to affect that responsibility in the first place. You cannot tell men to be responsible and cut the teeth out of it. You can't, as he was saying before, you don't get responsible men unless there's a commensurate authority that goes along with it. And that's what they fear. You want to know why people fear the red pill? You want to know why they fear men getting together and organized? Because they're afraid that men will take that authority back. They're afraid that men will take authority, because authority is not something that is given. As I was saying before, it's like when you hear some mealy-mouthed pastor saying, "Oh, let him lead." Even Allie Beth Stuckey, we need leaders. They don't know what leadership entails. They just know what the effect is. They don't know what the actual, like, what the cost of that is. The cost of that is that you have to submit to that leader. Leadership implies followers. Followers implies it's a hierarchy. If I am the leader at the top of this, it implies that I have authority as well as responsibility for everyone beneath me. And if that's what you're wanting, focus on that. You will never hear this conversation from fucking Officer Tatum. You'll never hear this fucking conversation with Charlie Kirk. You will never hear this conversation with these people at Turning Point USA. It's like speaking fucking Mandarin, man. It's like speaking Swahili to them. They have no concept of this, because if they did, they would have to admit that men today do not have that authority, because everything is their cure-all for everything is responsibility. The men would just take more responsibility. They can't. They can do it, and they could be on the hook for that responsibility, but they can never affect that responsibility, because you've gelded them. You've cut the teeth out of it, because they don't have the authority to do anything about it. Yeah, you need to be an equal partner with your wife and meet her needs. How can I do that? I don't have the authority to do it. I can't, unless I'm independently, like, wealth enforces will. So if I'm wildly fucking, wealthy, if I'm wildly rich, maybe, but then then that's the weapon, the sword of Damocles is the money that I have. It's all about wealth at that point. Is it something that's sort of like this divine right of men issued from God himself to have authority over your wife and your kids and dominion over the fucking animals of the planet or some shit like that? If that's the case, then fucking make that case. If you want authority, if you want men to take responsibility, they have to have the commensurate authority to affect that fucking responsibility. Because as it stands right now, we have nothing but responsibility, and women have nothing but authority. They're the ones that call the shots. Even subconsciously, when we say, "Oh, let him lead, girl," just give him a little bone here of leadership now and then. We know who really wears the pants, right? When you're doing that, all you're doing is admitting and acknowledging the fact that men don't have any authority, and you're okay with it. Because women are the ones that are signing the tithe checks, whether it's their husband's money or not. They're the ones who put asses in the pews. So keep that in mind when you see anybody talking about, like, what is it, servant leadership? I'm a servant leader. No, you're not. You're just the head slave on the plantation is what you are. The one that convinces the other slaves to stay on the plantation. You're just the loudest slave on the plantation. That's all you are, because you don't have any authority. Because responsibility without authority is slavery. That is the fucking definition of slavery. Responsibility without authority is slavery. And you know what? Authority without responsibility is tyranny. So when we talk about how women don't have any accountability and they have all the authority, effectively what you're talking about is tyranny. There you go. All right, let's get to these super chats here. Rolo, get the video. I did, man. You just did, bro. One definition of emotional intelligence is putting the exact words to how you feel. Can you pinpoint the emotion that you feel right now? Don't have to be autistic. But again, the process of forming that is not an emotional intelligence. It's a cognitive intelligence. It takes cognitive intelligence to interpret your emotions so that you can put words to it. Because you need cognitive intelligence to access your vocabulary database in the first place. Okay. That's why. There's a whole, all I can say is this. The best thing I can tell you, John, is go to Google or go to Perplexity and just type in like, why is emotional intelligence like controversial? Or why is it bullshit? You will get article after article after article. Emotional intelligence, kind of like, people still refer to it today, women in particular, if they think that a man needs therapy, and oh boy, there's nothing hotter than a guy who's in therapy and working on he's healing. What, ladies, if you think it's sexy for guys to be healing, when do you stop? Like, when do you stop healing? Like, you know what? I think I'm healed now. I'm good. I'm thanks, doc. I'll see you later. It's a never-ending thing. Like, oh, I'm in a part of healing right now. I'm in a season of healing. When does it end? How come? Why is it that like chicks who want to talk to me, like, they never want to talk to me when they're high, when they're up on, like, when they're on a high, when they're on like a positive emotional thing. Hey, Ro, I just want to tell you, man, I'm having a great time. I was thinking about you, blah, blah, blah. No. I'm so depressed. Oh, I just want to end it all. I'm in a season of healing. Stop. Call me up when you're having a good time, please. Like, something refreshing. Like, hey, I came up with this great new song, or I did something creative today. I learned how to do, needlework or needlepoint. Just I don't care. Just tell me what your wins are. Like, Jesus Christ. I'm in a season of healing. When does healing end? Can anybody tell me when does healing end? Like, when are you healed? Men need to go to therapy so they can heal. For how long? When do I get out? when is I'd be like, I'll be healed here in a couple hours. Hey, Rollo, on Access Vegas, what signal do you? Okay, very funny. What signal do you have to give Michael Sartain when you want a chance to talk? I don't. I just interject most of the time. He and I are pretty good about that. I let him cook this time because we had Mario on with us, and we had Tristan Darshan was on with us as well. I might be doing a little bit more work with Tristan these days. But no, I know. You want to? I was telling Kyle, because when I went to go do the seminar thing with Owen Cook, like we're at the 3-hour mark. We're 3:12 right now. I can talk. We're done. It's just basically I'm just doing like the cleanup now. But I was telling her, I said I can talk. I can go for about 3 hours, right? Maybe I've gone as much as 5, but I don't like to go that long. 4 is maximum. So I can talk, and everybody goes, "Oh, this guy Rollo really likes to hear himself talk." Have you heard Mike? I like Mike. Mike is my soul brother, but like Mike can talk, and especially on that show when he's surrounded by chicks and he's like getting it out there. The only, like, I love Mike like a brother. Don't get me wrong, but like when we get into like the nuts and bolts of like evolutionary psychology and the evolution of desire and Dr. David Buss drink, and when we get into like the stats and the figures and the evolutionary principles and stuff like that, I'm like like as he's going along, and all the girls are like checking their phones and everything. And it's great. It's very satisfying for me, and it's very satisfying for Mike, no doubt. But it doesn't make for good radio. So no, I don't really give him a sign. I suppose I sit right next to him, so I guess I could kick him in the side with my thigh or something like that. But no, we usually it's kind of like surfing. You got to wait for your wave with Mike, and then I ride the wave. You'll know, think of it this way: like if you ever see me on the show and Mike's doing his thing and everything, and I'm waiting to get in. It's like, because I used to surf when I was a kid, and so you wait to get in on the wave because you don't want to steal somebody else's wave. But when it's your wave and you go, and then you kind of go for a little bit, and then you kind of let the other guy get it. That's kind of how I view it. So, but I will tell you this: there's my level of talking, then there's Mike's level of talking, and then there's out of the shot level of talking with Owen Cook. Now, Owen can go and go and go and go. I mean, like, I haven't even seen like Baptist preachers, ministers go as consistently with as much like verve as Owen Cook. Owen Cook can talk. You want somebody who likes to hear his own voice. That's Owen Cook, and maybe rightfully so. Sometimes when he cooks, he's good. He cooks when he cooks, he's cooking. Isn't MGTOW then just men not accepting responsibility because they already know that they don't have the corresponding level of authority? Yes. Figured on paper, yes. Conceptually, yes. In practice, I don't know. I was going to post this one video of this guy who's a passport bro. I'm not going to because I don't have the time, but I was going to put this one video of this passport bro guy who married. It was 2 years ago to the day, by the way. He went over to the Philippines, got his perfect little, like low body counts, perfect little, oh, they're so feminine over. And I love Filipino people. Anyway, like some of my best friends have been Filipino. But in fact, I have been to the Philippines, actually. I've been to Pagudpud and I've been to Quezon City. And I can understand, but like he brought her back over here to the United States and she's divorcing him 2 years to the day. I'm like, this of course what happens, all the passport bros go, that's why you never bring him over here. That's why you expatriate and go over there and keep things real. Yes, men not accepting responsibility, but they're also, you got to remember what the motivations are for most guys who go their own way. Are they going their own way or were they sent their own way? But yeah, I mean, you could characterize it like that. Like, since I don't have the authority, why would I accept the responsibility? Good for you. I think it's more, I think honestly, I think you got to remember that MGTOW is a practice. It's a best practice. So they take like a lot of people want to conflate the black pill with the red pill. They want to conflate the MGTOW movement with the red pill. They want to or MRAs. They want to conflate, especially MRAs, want to conflate the red pill with the men's right activism or men's right movement. Right? It's even in the name, movement, men's rights, MRMs, men's rights movements, men right activism. Right? It's a practice. It's like, okay, we have this information. This is what we're going to do. Red pill is a praxeology. It's not about what you should or what you're going to do. It's about what is. Take it. It's actionable information. The way they action it is they become MGTOWs. They go their own way. That's really what it comes down. That's the separate. I'm trying to emphasize that because I know when we get to August, people are going to go, that rule is a dating roach. Never trust dating coaches. They just want to take your money and blah, 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 and sell books. That's what I do. I sell books. I owe myself a better life. There you go. Maybe that's all you needed to say. If a woman proves she adds enough value, she can be a part of what I build for myself. You have rational. You have made some progress, my friend. Here you go. Enlightened self-interest. I can't help others until I can help myself. That would be a good lesson for someone like Charlie Kirk and the rest of these people to learn. Don't expect men to be leaders. Don't expect men to take more and more, heaping more and more responsibility on these guys, hoping that whatever that is, this nebulous, ambiguous responsibility is going to in some way save women from themselves. Okay? Stop it with that bullshit. But the lesson they really need to learn, which I hope that Rational Redneck has learned here, is that that's the premise of enlightened self-interest. I can't help others until I can help myself. I can't help others as well as when I help myself first. That doesn't mean to be a dick. That doesn't mean be a selfish son of a bitch. That doesn't mean, keep it all to yourself like you're fucking, Mr. Miser or something like that. No, it means you build yourself up and you make yourself your mental point of origin. You do what benefits yourself. You owe yourself a better life. Thank you. That's a great one. You build yourself up and become the best version of yourself by yourself, for yourself. And then when you're a better judge of character and you say, you know what, this is somebody that I would like in my life. This person is an asset to my life, not a liability to my life. I'm going to be responsible for who do I want to be responsible for? How awesome would it be if someone like me, some smart motherfucker in Reignite said, hey, I got a better idea for you. Why don't you become the best version of yourself? And then you will have a better judge of character, so that when you decide that you want to be responsible for another individual, your wife, your girlfriend, whatever, maybe future children, that when you find somebody, you'll be a better judge of that character, so you'll know who's worth being responsible for. Wouldn't that be a better idea than just saying, oh, you just don't get any video games until you make her a woman of leisure? That's what the Bible says. No. Enlightened self-interest. I cannot help others until I can help myself. Great. Help yourself. Then you're in a better position to decide who you want to be responsible for. If that, in fact, is, I don't even know if I even subscribe to that, but let's just say I do. I'm in a better position to help other people if I've helped myself already, because it's for me, because it's about me. Everything's fucking about me. Right? It's all here's the thing. I need to get to the point, like I'm already at that point, right? Whereas my wife has already accepted this and accepted it a long time ago, right? What I do, the choices that I make as a man, as an ideas guy, as the money maker, my wife hasn't worked in almost 5 years now. I retired her early from her job, right? So but our attitude has always been this: is whatever I do is the best thing for the family. When there was a point, I remember this. I'll tell you a quick story. I remember when the first time I was living in Reno, Nevada, and it was like 2004. And I started working for Bango Vodka. So I was working for a import-export. And the company decided that they were going to relocate to Orlando, Florida. And they wanted me to come along. They were going to pay my expenses, and I was going to get a raise in pay. So it was a good move. And I took my wife to sushi that night. There's a lot of all-you-can-eat sushi places in Reno. I sat her down and I said this. I said, look, here's the situation. The company wants to move me to Florida. The headquarters is now going to be in Orlando. And we're going. And there was I didn't say, oh, do you think we could go? Do you think, is it going to be okay with your mom and your dad? And I got to think about the kids and the school and the dogs. And I said, this is what we're going to do. This is what's best for us. And you know what she told me? She says, you're my husband. I go where you go. And she had a good job at the hospital at the time too. And her mom and her dad were pretty close by, family, friends. There was no, well, what about my family? There was no, but what about my friends? That wasn't even a conversation. The only word she said, the only sentence she said to me is, you're my husband. I go where you go. Because she knew then, as she knows now, that what the decisions that I have a pretty good track record. I'm not saying I'm batting 1,000, but the decisions that I make that are best for me are also best for her, that are also best for my daughter, that are also best for my pets, right? That are also best for my friends, right? So when I make myself my primary focus, when I make myself my mental point of origin, I suddenly find out that magically I'm doing better, because these are things that I want to do. I think about myself first. And you know what? It's not that I don't think about other people after that. I do. But I'm the first thing that comes to my brain. So when people go, they get upset with me saying you don't owe a woman a better life, what they're saying is, when they get upset with that, what they're saying is that they've made women their mental point of origin. I wonder how many guys would have gone and done the same thing. Probably not many. So when it comes to enlightened self-interest, when it comes to thinking of yourself before you think of others, but not that you don't think of others, you'll get to a point at some point along the way. Maybe this is a Reignite lesson. I don't know. You'll get to a point somewhere along the way where you will realize, I don't really care what anybody else thinks. I know that this is a good opportunity for me, and I'm going to take this, and this is what I want to do. And when I profit from this, and when I make money off of this, and when I grow from this, the people who I love and I am responsible for, because I am responsible for my wife, I'm responsible for her well-being, I'm responsible for my greyhound's I'm responsible for my mother-in-law's well-being, because she's part of my extended family, and I've accepted that. People go, why would you take care of your mother-in-law? Because she's part of my extended family. I've accepted that she's somebody that I'm responsible for, and I'm okay with that. So I put her up. I have her. She stays in my house. She's got in her own area, right? And Arola, you're a really great dad. You're a really great, humanitarian. You're a really great husband. No, I've just accepted that, and I'm responsible for that. So am I a son of a bitch for being a patriarch? for that? No. I do what's right for me, which is what's right for them. And at some point, they will accept the fact that, and even if they're uncertain about it, eventually what I do is going to benefit them. So. Just a reminder that Super Chats for Access Vegas on Rumble are on Rumble. Yes, it would be nice if there were more shows where I'm not the only one super chatting. I know I have to figure out how Myron and Fresh are doing their super chats, and I think Brian from whatever podcast doesn't use super chats on YouTube anymore. If he does, I'm not aware of it, but I think he has a third party thing, so I'll have to figure that out. But when Access Vegas got demonetized, I was faced with a choice. I could either just delete the channel and go full on Rumble, but then I'd already had like 8,000 subs on the channel, so I'm like, all right. So I just have to find an alternative. I will. I know. You are the only one that's super chat. And by the way, thank you for the $100 last time. TradCon's fighting ideology with the ideology. Yep. Whew. Church is in session today. Rolo's cooking. This episode is going to be studied by historians trying to figure out how to rebuild society once women have finished destroying it. Thank you. That was pretty good here.
You're goddamn right.
Happy New Year, Rolo. Paying my tuition. You are welcome, my friend. Oh, here.
I'm like, man, Rolo, sometimes you don't get no hoes, man.
There you go. Okay, let's get out of here. What's going on? We do not have Access Vegas this week, so I will do my best to give you a midweek show, Kyle. Would you like me to get Cappy in? I could get Cappy in for a quick show, I think. I'm going to see if I can get Cappy in. People like that. It's so easy to get him now, too, because he's just right around the corner. Let's see what else I can do. We will have Trey Little in as the male guest on the 16th of January. Trey's a good friend of mine from Detroit. He's a rapper, but he also is responsible for the Buy the Block program, where he's trying to buy his old. When he was a kid, he used to live on this block in Detroit, and he's trying to buy up the houses in this really kind of depressed area and like sort of gentrify them and everything. I'll let him explain that to you guys later. But you want me to get Andrew Wilson? I could get Andrew on. Andrew's been on this show before. Well, not my show, but he's been on Access Vegas. So yeah, probably midweek. By midweek, I mean probably Thursday, since there won't be any Access Vegas. So Thursday, I'll probably give you another show. I'm working on doing some video with my new DJI Osmo. So I'm going to be doing some like little quick hit, like 20-minute videos just to see how that works out. All the guys in Reignite want me to do it, so I will do it. Also, if you happen to be part of my Patreon group, I have been remiss in my duties for having us have our meetup. I am going to do that on Tuesday of next week. So Tuesday of next week will be our meetup. If you're unfamiliar with what I'm talking about, I have a Patreon, which is linked down in the description. You have to go in there. I do a monthly meetup. It's $200 a month, and I do go for 2 hours. And if you have any direct questions, if you have like any problems, if you always wanted to like say, oh, Rolo, I want to do a one-on-one with you, but I can't afford it, whatever, then go join the Patreon, man. That's why I did that. You'll be on there with a group of guys. I believe I've got 4 guys right now. I limit it to 25, but everybody kind of falls off during the holiday season. So now's the time to get on. So if you want to be part of my Patreon group, go to my Patreon page and sign up for the top tier, which is the $200 a month one. And like I said, I do a Zoom call for 2 hours on there. Also, if you want to join Reignite, if you're joining that, you're joining a community. We have a school community, SKOOL, and we do events like at Babes in Toyland. The big event, the premier event that we're working on right now is going to be for May of this year, and that's going to be in Miami for the White Party. And I am going to finally organize the deep sea fishing trip that I was unable to do last year, but I'm going to do that for my Reignite group. So check in if you want to join Reignite. It's the very first one in the thing there. I also put Mike's Men of Action thing there too as well. I get affiliate bucks out of that, but if you want to join my group, please do. But why do I do that? Because people asked me this last night. They said, what's the difference between Reignite and like say Mike's group, right? And Mike gave me a really good compliment. He said this. He said, of course, it went over the head of most of these guys, but do you remember back in the 50s? I think it was the Patriots. It might have been. I think it was the Patriots. it was Tom Landry and Vince Lombardi were the offensive coordinator and the defensive coordinator for that team.
Yeah.
And of course, they went on to become like Hall of Fame coaches, right? Lombardi, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
And he says, you know, and I want to say, I think it was Vince Lombardi who was the offensive coach, and then it was Tom Landry who was the defensive coach, right? And he said this. He says, the difference between our groups is I'm Vince Lombardi and Rollo is Tom Landry. Like I'm the best of the best when it comes to the defensive coordinator, and he's the best of the best when it comes to offensive coordinator. I thought, man, that's a fucking great analogy.
It is.
And so, because that's really what it's about. Like his group really is like they go out into the clubs and they go out and they learn game, and they're basically learning. They're on the offense, man. They're out there taking action. They're going and meeting girls. I mean, that's the primary focus of his group of men of action is to go out there and go and do this stuff. And so if he's at an immersion or if he's at Babes in Toyland or whatever, his whole focus is giving guys the tools they need to go out and talk to women so that they can get with the chicks that they want to get with, right? My focus is really kind of on the defense. Now that I think about it, it's like how to protect yourself, how to learn about this. Mine's much more theoretical. It's more red pill, right? It's more red pill where his is more game. And red pill is the theory, whereas game is a practice, right? And so if he's the offensive coordinator, I'm the defensive coordinator, right? Well, it's like, how do you rebuild your life? Health, wealth, relationships. It's much more comprehensive about like sort of rebuilding a guy and help him fight back from zero. So those are the differences. If people want to ask me what the difference is between Reignite and MOA, it's offensive versus defensive. It's rebuilding your life and rebuilding, building something up from scratch. Whereas MOA is more like, okay, I got my shit together and I want to get out in the clubs and I want to go on the offensive. Those are if you had to put it in a nutshell, if you want to put it on a bumper sticker, that's the way I would describe it. So that's the deal. All right, guys. So we're going to get out of here. I will see you guys on Thursday. And then of course I'll be right back here again on Sunday of next week. I think the fucking video looked fucking great today, man. And producer Kyle, man, thank you very much for your contributions and your production today. It was fantastic. But the lighting is better. We've rearranged the table a little bit here, and the lighting is a little bit more. Yeah, see, is that where it is? Oh, it's right there. Okay, this one. Yeah. So yeah. But now we've got what are we at? 3 cameras? We're on 3 cameras.
We got 3 cameras.
Yeah, and then you put you on. There you go. So there he is. Okay, just so you know what we're doing. We're sitting in the dark being nerds. All right, guys. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys on Thursday. All right. Peace.
I need to feel you on top. All right. It was my first time, but I was just a kid when we met and went to bed. It was my first time.
Tell us just to be cool.
What do you expect from me? I'm breaking up the rules now in the game. I've got some new tools. Please do the same. Time came by when
say my name.
I feel like I just took a bath in battery acid.
I prefer a good cigar and a bad woman.
How dare you?
Fucking in the bathroom, tearing up every wall while I got your hair. Why you screaming my name?
That's nasty. It is nasty, right? Isn't it nasty?
She was swinging in the bedroom, whole time stopping and stopping with her head like she's calling you Kelly.
Well, I'm a whore.
Run me up and down like a pony, turning up my song, getting nasty, working up and down on your body. Run me
inspiration.
Podcast has been a production of the Rational Mail. All rights reserved. Registered trademark 2025. Don't steal Ned stuff.
Oh, gnarly! Dump that bitch!
Say my name.
God wants you to have the